Aí, esqueci o microfone. E aí, pessoal, beleza? Vamos ver aqui, vamos ver se tá começando. Bem-vindos à primeira live do canal. Deixa eu ver aqui, vamos ver se tá... Aí, esqueci o microfone. Aí. E aí, galera, tranquilo? Como é que vocês estão? Pera, deixa eu aumentar o volume aqui. Aí. Galera, seguinte, bem-vindos ao canal, tá bom pra quem é novo aqui. Eu sou o Rafael Camaro, como tá aparecendo aqui embaixo provavelmente. E hoje a gente vai assistir a grande transmissão build de 2017, evento anual da Microsoft esse ano aí. E galera, é o seguinte, essa aqui é a primeira live oficial que eu tô fazendo aqui no canal, tá bom? Já fiz outras lives de testes, mas essa aqui é a primeira vez que eu tô fazendo uma coisa mais séria, com toda a interface, workflow aqui e tal. Então, galera, se tiver baixo a minha voz, se tiver muito alta a música de fundo, qualquer problema que tiver, vai me avisando aí, que é por isso que eu até comecei essa live um pouco antes, pra gente ir ajustando aqui, pra quando começar o evento ao meio-dia, a gente já mandar bala, tá bom? Então, vamos falando aí as coisas que acontecer, vão dando feedback aqui por enquanto e vamos comentando aí que a gente tá lendo tudo, beleza? Abraço, salve aí pro Leandro, pro Lucas, todo mundo que chegou aí. Tem uma galera que tá mó tempão aí que eu tô vendo aqui no canal já, tá? Mas vamos comentando aí o que a gente precisar, tá bom? E aí, que estão ansiosos pro evento hoje, galera? O que vocês acham que vai aparecer hoje? Será que teremos muitas informações novas? Teve coisa vazada aí que a gente já pode esperar? Tem coisa que a gente pode não esperar? O que vocês acham? Áudio e música tá top? Beleza, eu tô ouvindo a música que tá bem chata, mas é porque, como eu tô improvisando o setup aqui, foi o que deu pra fazer no momento. Deixa eu pôr a musiquinha um pouco diferente, calma aí. Musiquinha que vocês conhecem mais, deixa eu só achar ela aqui. Tô suando aqui, acabei de vir correndo pra live porque eu tive que sair na rua. Aí, cheguei em casa agora há pouco. Fonte de mídia. Mídia musical. Galera, acho que vai ficar um pouco... Pera aí, deixa eu diminuir a música. Aí, vou pôr a musiquinha própria do canal mesmo. De começo vai ficar bem alto, mas vou ajustar, tá? Aguenta aí. Deixa eu só achar aqui. Cadê? Era pra estar tocando. Tá tocando? Pera aí, deixa eu ver os comentários de vocês. Coloca Legião. Cara, eu não posso pôr música com direitos autorais, senão eu colocaria até. Que estranho, não tá aparecendo música aqui. Pelo menos no meu controle de música aqui, pá. Pera aí, deixa eu voltar um pouquinho. Não tá aparecendo ainda. Que estranho. Tá, pera aí, deixa eu voltar aqui. Ah, tá, acho que eu sei o que é. Fonte de mídia. Aí, agora sim. Ó, baixei menos 20 a música, vê pra mim se tá tocando, ok? Se tiver muito baixo eu aumento, se tiver muito alto eu abaixo, ok? Deixa eu... Muito baixo eu aumento, se tiver muito alto eu abaixo. Acho que dá pra baixar um pouquinho, hein? Eu dei um preview aqui, vou ficar menos 25. Vamos ver agora se ele vai. Deixa eu abrir aqui uma nova janela pra já deixar no esquema aqui pra gente assistir a live. Galera, a transmissão tá ok, tá travando ou não tá? Comenta aí, por favor, alguma coisa. A música, baixar um pouquinho? Ok. Baixar mais um pouco. Tá menos 30 agora. Vê se tá bom, se não tá. Uns falam que tá alto demais, outros falam que tá baixo demais. Olha aí. Ó, tá menos 30 agora, tá bom? Vê pra mim. Tem um delay nos comentários de vocês, então não se preocupa não, tá? Bom dia, Carlos, beleza? Oh, deixa eu voltar a live aqui. Compartilhar ela aqui na... Winchester, vai no canal NCS Sound lá, as músicas são todas sem direitos autorais. Cara, aqui fica muito em cima da hora agora. Eu coloquei algumas, mas deixa aqui do canal mesmo, fica mais minha cara. Redstone 4 não, cara. Redstone 3 hoje só. Duvido vai falar alguma coisa de Redstone 4. Minha voz tá boa? Falaram aqui do mic e tal. Dá um feedback aí quem puder. Não tô falando que tá perfeito. Dá uma regular na caixa de som de vocês aí. Pode ser que seja alguma coisa em vocês também, tá? Deixa eu tweetar a live. Galera, tô tweetando a live. Quem puder ir lá nas redes sociais e retweetar. Calma aí, deixa eu só terminar de tweetar. Estamos ao vivo. Hashtag Microsoft Build 2017. Acabei de tweetar a live, quem puder lá dar retweet vai ajudar bastante, tá bom? Like aqui embaixo também vai ajudar pra caramba. Qual é o horário do evento? Começa meio-dia. Site da live, cara, tá aqui na descrição do vídeo, tem esse site aqui que tô mostrando aqui, tô mostrando aqui num cantinho, que é o que eu vou assistir. Eu vou transmitir a live aqui por aqui, tá bom? Mas vou transmitir em inglês, tá bom, galera? Não vou, a Microsoft eu acho que ela vai disponibilizar em português, mas se não vai ficar tanto os caras falando em inglês, quanto o narrador em português, quanto eu falando, então vai ficar bem confuso. Então vou transmitir em inglês, só que eu não vou conseguir traduzir tudo, tá bom? Vou fazer o máximo possível para traduzir pelo menos as coisas mais importantes. Mas primeiro, se eu ficar traduzindo tudo, eu vou me perder no que eles estão falando. E eu não sou sempre fluente em inglês, eu consigo me virar, mas não sou 100%. Então até umas coisas eu vou traduzir mais como posso dizer? Mais da maneira que eu interpretar, tá bom? Vou aumentar a janela, vou dar um preview pra vocês, que até pedir feedback pra vocês, ó. Eu vou deixar assim durante a live, tá bom? Me falam se tá ok, eu acho que ficou bacana, beleza? Inclusive quem for se inscrevendo vai aparecendo até o nome aqui. Quem for acabar se inscrevendo vai aparecer o nome ali depois. Mas vou deixar dessa maneira aqui, tá bom? Vou voltar aqui pra cá. Porque como é um momento mais de bate-papo, eu vou deixar assim eu maior. Aí depois a gente muda, beleza? Será que teremos novos aparelhos mobile hoje? Cara, duvido. Evento build é evento de desenvolvedor, ou seja, evento só de software. Não duvido vai surgir hardware nesse evento, tá bom? Pode ser que surja umas coisas ou outras. Hardware provavelmente vai surgir mais tipo HoloLens, essas coisas assim, mas no anúncio de hardware duvido que vai ter. Provavelmente no final do mês vai ter um evento da Microsoft na Tailândia, alguma coisa assim. Lá provavelmente vai ter hardware novo. Não se sabe ainda o que vai ser, mas vamos ver. Bom, mas não ficou das melhores? Nossa, cara. Bom, foi o que deu pra fazer, cara. Na próxima eu tento melhorar um pouquinho, tá? Tira os comentários. Tirar não, cara. Deixa os comentários aí, o pessoal gosta de aparecer. Eu acho que é esse site aqui que vai acontecer a live, né? Deixa eu ver aqui. Assista ao vivo. Ao vivo, vídeo 2017. É, por aqui que vai acontecer. Eu espero que na hora que começar a transmitir a live, a transmissão deles não caia a transmissão aqui. Porque quando vai começar. Igual. Porque quando vai começar a baixar a informação e enviar ao mesmo tempo, vai dar um complicado. Ó, já deu uma travada aqui na live pra mim. Vai dar uma normalizada. organizado. Começou a travar, começou a travar. Galera, como que tá agora, hein? Chegando nele. A qualidade aqui tá... 540p dá pra... Vamos pra começar. Fala aí se... Travou pra mim, porque o retorno também deu uma travada, tá bom? E aí, programa da casa, beleza? Abaixo. Tá alto ainda? Pera aí. Ó, diminui aqui no programa. Vê se tá alto ainda a live. Ficou alto aquela hora. Diminui agora. Show, pela. Agora tá show, tá. Vou fazer o seguinte, galera. Como tem evento lá, eu vou dar o play aqui no vídeo, deixar alto. E eu vou aumentando de pouquinho em pouquinho o volume. Então eu vou diminuir a música do canal mesmo e vou transmitir o da live, o som. Aí vocês vão me falando como vai ficar bom, tá bom? Porque a gente vai ter que ouvir os caras, então... pera aí. Ó, diminui totalmente a música aqui do canal. Coloquei em menos 30, tá bom? O volume do... Pera aí, deixa eu deixar mudo eu também. Vou deixar aqui na metade. Ó, a música da live tá na metade, mais ou menos. Não sei se vocês vão conseguir ver, deixa eu fazer a transição aqui. Olha só. Aqui tá na metade, mais ou menos, tá bom? E no software aqui de transmissão eu coloquei em menos 20, menos 30. Então vamos falando aí. É a minha primeira live, galera, então vai fazer uns ajustes aqui ainda, tá bom? Não esquenta muito com isso, não. Perdoem o tio Chica. Opa! Ah, tá. Aumenta mais um pouco. Tá, vou deixar em menos 20. Lembrando que é menos 20, tá, galera? Tipo, 20 abaixo do volume normal. Antes estava 30 abaixo, agora tá 20 abaixo. Ó, já começou a aparecer lá o palco. Tá melhor agora. Tá pra ouvir. Aumentar mais um pouco. Tá. Tem que ter um puta delay enorme entre o comentário de vocês e o negócio aqui, ó. Vou deixar menos 15. Ó, vou mostrar o software pra vocês, ó, pra vocês ficarem curiosos. Ó, aqui é o volume do desktop, tem menos 15 agora, tá, ó. Vou pôr tela cheia já, galera. Vou deixar aqui assim, ó. Assim que começar o evento, deixar... Vou deixar assim agora, vai. Valeu aí, ô Blazer. Não vou mexer mais nada até vocês falarem alguma coisa, tá? Vou esperar dar o retorno pra mim dessa parte que tá em tela cheia. Aí eu vou ver aqui. Tem um delay de mais de 30 segundos, pra vocês terem ideia. Então... tira a música. Essa música tá rodando agora só da live, cara. Não é a minha mais, não. A minha não tem nenhuma música rodando aqui mais. Pera, deixa eu voltar isso aqui pra cá. Isso aqui volta para cheia. E aí, André, beleza? Galera, tinha que falar em tela cheia. Se vocês quiserem ver só a live em tela cheia, tem um link aqui na descrição onde vocês vão conseguir acompanhar, tá? Mas deixa rodando em outra aba e deixa tipo o áudio aqui rodando. Apesar que vocês vão pegar muito eco, eu acho. Tá bom? Tá bom, tá bom. A maioria tá falando tá bom. Quem acha que tá muito alto, dá uma baixada no volume. Se a minha voz já é muito baixa, fala pra mim que eu tento aumentar um pouquinho. Não vou conseguir aumentar muito porque o microfone tá no máximo. Se aumentar mais vai começar a se torcer. Mas vamos aí. Fala, André, tranquilo, cara? Deixa eu compartilhar isso aqui no Facebook. Espero que essa música não tenha direitos autorais. Não, Microsoft, ó, ferra. Ô, verdade, galera, vou diminuir a música. Ó, tá menos 15, vou diminuir. Porque eu não sei se essa música tem direitos autorais. Na hora que começar o evento, ele vai. Tá normal mesmo, então. Só por precaução, tá bom? Por enquanto vai ficar sem música. Mas tá prestes a começar, tipo, 10 minutos vai começar. Aí a gente volta, tá? Pera aí, estamos online. Galera, tô postando aqui lá na fanpage, quem puder recompartilhar lá também, já vai ajudar bastante. Lógico, deixa seu like, comenta. Siga nas redes sociais quem não seguir ainda, tem Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Quem não me segue no Instagram, galera, é a minha rede social que eu mais uso, então, tipo, dá sempre uma olhadinha lá, tá bom? Então, segue eu lá. Ela tem grana, eu não tenho, né, mano? Eu ganho uma merreca aqui do canal. Não ganho nada. Pra vocês terem ideia, eu ganho um trocadinho aqui a cada 2 meses. E olha lá, isso quando dá, que normalmente tá 3. Agora começou a cair a cada 2 meses. Gostei do seu canal, já me inscrevi. Fala aí, Fernando. Tem bastante coisa legal aí, dá uma olhada nos outros vídeos depois. Tem muito vídeo de build, porque é o que o pessoal acaba gostando mais. Mas sempre que possível eu trago um conteúdo mais diferenciado. Tá? Mas não é sempre que dá, não. Ainda mais porque eu tenho outras coisas a fazer. Se eu vivesse só do canal, até daria pra trazer umas coisas. O projeto não só vai ser mostrado nos próximos dias. Cara, hoje vai ter coisa, certeza. Duvido que não mostre nada sobre isso hoje. Aqui se refere ao evento. O Luazinha é o evento da Microsoft, o evento de desenvolvedores deles, que é o principal evento deles do ano. Eles vão falar tudo o que eles pretendem fazer até o final do ano, até a próxima grande atualização, que está prevista para setembro. Então, a gente vai ter novidades aí sobre o Windows Phone, tomara que tenha, HoloLens e tudo mais, tá? Hoje que o Windows Mobile morre, já morreu, ressuscitou várias vezes. Windows Phone seria bom morrer. Mas aí eles teriam que anunciar oficialmente aí a chegada do Windows completo para mobile, ou uma evolução muito grande do Windows 10. Eu acho que, para ser sincero, eu não estou confiante de que vai ter muita coisa sobre o Windows. Eu espero que tenha pelo menos, sei lá, 30 minutos focado só em mobile. Mas eu... Será que vai ter? Tô em dúvida, hein? Salve, Winchester! E aí, Winchester, tudo bom? O Anderson, cadê você? Polêmica, não vou citar nada. Não vou falar sobre isso, tá bom? O Windows Phone já morreu faz tempo, agora o Windows 10 é, sim, tecnicamente. Cadê o Anderson? Tá no comentário mesmo ou vocês estão zoando? Deixa eu ver aqui. Não tô achando. Acho que é zoeira de vocês, provavelmente. Oh, não dá pra ouvir o áudio agora, tô na live do YouTube, depois eu troco ideia com você. Tudo ótimo, Kaká, valeu por responder. De nada, Lozinho. Deixa eu pegar o celular pra carregar. Vai que eu queira transmitir alguma coisa pra vocês na live. Salve, Lucas, tranquilo? Treta maligna? Eu não quero aquela treta aqui não, velho. A zoeira, ok, beleza. Mas não é que ele aparece aí, seria bom ele aparecer, cara, eu gosto dele. Tenho nada muito contra, não. Chica, chica, bum, bum. Vai aí, galera, apostas de vocês. O que vocês apostam que vai aparecer hoje? Eu queria criar uns cards aqui de aposta, né? Depois eu faço isso. Mas eu não sei se é atualizado ao vivo também. Tá programado pra que horas? Pra meio-dia. Então vamos começar aqui 7 minutos, provavelmente. Agora são 11h57. Lógico que aumenta um pouquinho mais, um pouquinho menos, mas, né? Ô, ô Leonardo, eu vou considerar que você tá brincando, tá bom? Mas se continuar, não, eu vou acabar silenciando você. Mas, mas considero que seja zoeiro, pelo menos por enquanto, né? Chica, como te acha no Insta? Cara, todas as redes sociais são @winchestercanal. O link tá toda na descrição aqui, tá bom? Sempre tem @winchestercanal ou /winchestercanal. Tem o Facebook, o Twitter e o Instagram, tá? Fala, Rafael, beleza? O que você espera do evento hoje? Cara, eu espero que tenha realmente algo pra mobile, mas eu não tô muito confiante, mano. Mas eu espero ter pelo menos 20, 30 minutinhos só focado em falar de smartphones. Seria a única coisa que eu espero. Eles vão falar de Project On, com certeza. Cortana, tem aquele novo que vazou esses dias, é o Home Hub, alguma coisa do tipo, que é pra casas inteligentes. E provavelmente vão falar alguma coisa também. Redstone 3, certeza vão falar. Tá começando. Vou voltar o áudio aqui. Para menos 15 como estava antes. Ok, voltei a live, tá bom o áudio, vai comenta aí. E aí galera, e aí Everton, beleza? Deixa eu pôr no Instagram que eu tô online já, né? Canal Chica no Insta. Não entendi, André. Meu canal é esse aqui, canal Winchester. E o com... Pera que me mandei mensagem. E o Instagram @winchestercanal, tá? Mas isso é o Instagram do canal, meu pessoal não vou passar não. Fala galera, tamo online aqui já no canal, tá bom? Quem quiser aparecer lá, só chegar lá no canal ou nos links das redes sociais que eu postei e dar uma conferida lá, vamos trocar uma ideia. Diminuir o meu áudio e aumentar o da live. Alguém concorda aí? Precisa um só falar, não adianta nada, cara. Tem mais gente cooperar aí. Vocês querem que diminua a minha voz e aumente um pouco da live? Ou da transmissão? Não é um canal, não é um serviço. Eu não vou ficar aqui serão e tal, falando tudo. Aqui é um canal mais íntimo entre vocês, galera. Áudio tá ótimo, tá ótimo. Salve hardware, beleza? Nossa, dá uma bugada monstra aqui na minha imagem. Estranho, não tá aparecendo. Deixa eu fazer um teste aqui, pera aí. Salve pessoal de Aracaju. Salve Victor. Estranho. Esse nome que aparecer aqui, se aparecer, Pera aí. É nome de teste, tá bom? Não, relaxa. Deixa eu ver se vai aparecer só. Esse nome que aparece aqui do lado é... Esquece, tá bom? Só tô testando uma coisa só. Tua voz é grave e potente. Valeu, cara. Apareceu ali. Ok, porque isso era pra estar aparecendo? Deixa eu ver aqui. Era pra estar aparecendo o nome de quem for se inscrevendo, não sei se... Ele vai mostrar. Estranho, tá com um errinho aqui em cima, né? Tá uma bugada meio estranha. Em que tu vai votar em 2018? Cara, eleição no política não é assunto do canal aqui não.
Good morning and welcome. We are about to begin. We invite everyone to please be seated. Also, just a reminder, this would be an excellent time to silence your devices. We appreciate your cooperation, and again, we're going to begin very shortly. Thank you.
Galera, conforme a transmissão começar de verdade, vocês me vão falando sobre o áudio, tá bom? Que daí eu vou aumentando, vou diminuindo. Lembrando, galera, que eu vou transmitir em inglês, eu vou traduzir o que eu puder, da maneira do possível, mas recomendo que você saiba um pouco de inglês para acompanhar. Pelo menos o básico para você se virar, tá? Se você quiser acompanhar em português, eu acho que na descrição do vídeo vai ter esse mesmo link que eu tô vendo. Eu acho que nas opções dele tem como você mandar traduzir. Pelo menos colocar legenda você consegue. Com legenda consegue? Se for legenda dá pra pôr, né? Ó, ativei a legenda, qualquer coisa eu desativo depois. Aí... Só que eu não sei se vai ter narração em português dele. Se colocar em português a live, vai ficar o pessoal falando inglês, o cara narrando a tradução, eu falando aqui, então vai ficar muito confuso, tá? (14, 13, 12). Vamos ver. Minecraft. Os bloquinhos deve ser Minecraft, isso aí. Renan, mais à frente a gente conversa um pouquinho. Agora começou a abrir, a gente vamos ver o que vai acontecer. Mais à frente eu queria falar um pouco mais sobre a linha. Vamos pousar onde está acontecendo o evento, será? Torre Microsoft. Welcome to Cloud City. Verdade, temos um grande foco na nuvem aí, pelo jeito.
Good morning.
Começou a falar, falando aí o feedback sobre o áudio, tá?
How are you all doing?
Bom dia, como estão indo? Vocês querem que eu vá traduzindo, gente?
To Seattle.
Tem legenda,
Welcome
né?
to Build 2017. Finally, spring has arrived in Seattle. They tell me that it's a beautiful, bright, sunny day outside. And so we thought it would be an awesome idea to bring you all into this dark room and talk about cloud computing. You know, for me, these developer conferences have been the way I've, in some sense, marked the passage of time, the progress that we as an industry make, we as a company have made, we as a set of developers and the ecosystem have made. Recently someone posted a presentation I did perhaps in '93. It was one of those classic code on screen developer conferences. This was pre-web, and we were so excited about Windows NT coming out and the birth of client server. And I think this slide was all about connecting to an SNA, through an SNA server to a host machine, getting data into Excel, using VB automation. And I was sort of listening to this, and I was thinking, wow, you know, it's so cool to get excited about technology.
Ele tá falando sobre o começo,
in fact,
quando ele
my
pegou pela
daughter saw
primeira
this
vez, que
picture
ficou bem
and said, "Who is
excitado.
that?" And you know,
Caralho,
a
ele na
lot has
dela, como ele era.
changed. In fact, one of the developers, as I was prepping for
Tinha
it,
cabelo.
said, "Hey, there seems to be a real inverse relationship between the amount of hair you have and the amount of computing power that we've now grown." And then later he realized that they made a big mistake. Because what about the future? Because I've reached the limits of physics now. I don't have more hair to lose. So we truly are in that post-Moore's law, and maybe it's GPUs and FPGAs or what have you that'll have to come and help us.
Vocês estão lendo aqui, né? Dá pra ler, gente? O
Stunning,
comentário,
though, to
a
see the
legenda.
progress across the depth and breadth of our society and economy, and how digital technology is so pervasive. There was this one stat, because we are talking about the past a bit. In 1992, when I joined the company, the total amount of internet traffic, this was pre-web, was around 100 gigabytes per day. And now, per second, we have 17.5 million times that. In fact, 90% of all the data has been generated in the last 2 years. An autonomous car is going to generate something like 100 gigabytes per second. And by 2020, it's estimated that there is going to be 25 billion intelligent devices. So whether it's precision medicine or precision agriculture, whether it's digital media or the industrial internet, the opportunity for us as developers to have broad, deep impact on all parts of society and all parts of economy has never been greater.
Eu sou parceiro do Shin, cara.
But with this
Não trabalho para eles,
enormous
mas
opportunity,
a gente tem uma parceria.
I believe comes enormous responsibility. We talked about this even last year. But to me, the choices we as developers make are going to have pretty profound implications. You know, I'm an unrepentant tech optimist, there's no question of that. But also I'm grounded
Não dá para aumentar a legenda,
there are
cara.
unintended consequences of technology.
Não tem opção para aumentar a legenda, infelizmente.
And it's not that we can just use more technology to solve for those problems. And definitely technologists by themselves cannot solve for these.
Como esse final de evento, sempre sai na tela falando muita coisa, tá? Então é um pouco chato, assim mesmo. Relaxem, tá? Vai começar a empolgar logo.
That some of the more dystopian scenarios don't come true. I mean, if you think about it, what Orwell prophesied in 1984, where technology was being used to monitor, control, dictate.
Acho que vai durar 3 horas o evento.
We may do by just distracting ourselves without any meaning or purpose. Neither of these futures is something that we want. So the question is, what are we going to do? What are the practical ways we can make progress? And to me, it comes down to a set of design principles and choices we make. I believe we can make these practical design choices that help enshrine our timeless values. The first one is that we should empower people with technology. That's got to be the front and center consideration.
É que tem muita gente que não gosta das coisas mais técnicas. Eu gosto bastante.
Have to be in the loop. Let's amplify their capability, amplify their ingenuity. Second, let us use technology to bring more empowerment to more people. When you have these amazing advances in computer vision, or speech, or text understanding, let us use that to bring more people to be able to use technology and to participate economically in our society. So this inclusive design ultimately can be an instrument for inclusive growth. And lastly, I think it's up to us, as the world becomes more technology-driven, digital technology is part and parcel of every aspect, building trust in technology is crucial. And I think it starts with us taking accountability for the algorithms we create, the experiences that we create, and ensuring that there is more trust in technology with each day. These principles, these are practical things, but yet they capture, I think, the essence of the timeless values. And this is what grounds us in our mission. When we say we want to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more, and I think it especially speaks to empowering every developer. After all, we are a company that started as a dev tools company. We want to think about people,
Mega Trailers, a legenda do site está pequena mesmo. E não tem como aumentar.
We want to think about what we do across the globe, every part of the world.
Não tem
And
opção
perhaps
de aumentar.
most importantly, it's not just celebrating any platform or technology of ours, but it's about celebrating what you can do with that technology to have broad impact. And that's what we've been realizing that mission, that sense of purpose is what has been driving us in this mobile-first, cloud-first world. And the opportunity that you all have
Sim, o CyberArk é Google Now com Google Home com a Cortana, digamos assim.
Think about the 500 million Windows 10 devices that you can now reach.
500 milhões? Semana passada falaram 300 milhões.
That reach is what's going to drive our ecosystem going forward. It's going to give each one of you more of an audience, more users, more engagement in a secure way. And we're going to talk a lot about the advances in Windows Store throughout this conference.
Avanços em Windows Store, isso é importante.
100 million MAU of Office 365. This is the most valuable set of users in the core of the enterprise using these tools every day. And we've done a lot to make all of your applications more discoverable, more usable inside the user experience scaffolding of Office. I mean, take Teams. It's so amazing to see how we build Teams with that third-party extensions being front and center. Bots, tabs, extensions, all of those being surfaced within the user experience scaffolding of Teams. I think huge opportunity. Outlook extensions, all through Office. So you have now the ability to reach 100 million of these most valuable users with any application you build. I mean, Cortana is getting used by 140 million users every month on Windows today. I mean, just to put this in perspective, these are devices, by the way, that all have near-field audio and screens. And so when you start writing skills that is going to take audio input,
or text input,
and have responses that are both audio and screens, you have an amazing install base already that's rich that you can extend. In terms of organizations, there are over 12 million organizational entities in Azure Active Directory. So this is both large businesses, small and medium-sized businesses, educational institutions. 12 million of them are already inside of Azure Active Directory. That means they're using one of the cloud services we have. And that means your applications can do single sign-on across all of these 12 million organizations, reducing friction, making it possible for you to reach them.
O Blazer, esperar até o final do evento que a gente dá uma olhada nisso. Ver se eles anunciam alguma coisa. Previsão para setembro, mas nada confirmado.
For the opportunity that you have in front of you as you build your applications and services. And throughout these 3 days, we're going to talk about how we're continuing to advance these platforms, continuing to advance this opportunity so that you get the best return on the investments you make.
André, começa assim mesmo, ele vai falando um pouco, dá uma introdução.
Now,
aí o negócio começa a ficar quente depois que ele sai.
Is you as developers, with the apps you build and the feedback cycle between those applications and the platform is what shapes the evolution of platforms.
Carlos, sim, vai ter a edição em 3, eles vão mostrar um pouco hoje.
Last year we talked a lot about conversations as a platform, and this year you will see in demo after demo people using conversations as a platform. People building agents, personal assistants that span devices, skills for those agents, bots, natural user interfaces for these multi-device applications, whether it be text or speech or even vision and gestures.
Vamos falar bastante de bots hoje também.
IoT, big workload in the cloud. AI is everywhere.
O que lhe falta de cabelo tem sobra.
Large amounts of data, create intelligence, distribute it. Even the microservices, workflows, advanced analytics that people are building in the cloud are all pointing to
Gustavo, ele tem memória boa, mas ele tá lendo. Tem monitor aí embaixo que ele tá lendo, certeza.
Fundamental change in the paradigm of the apps that we are building. A change in the worldview that we have. We are moving from what is today's mobile-first, cloud-first world to a new world.
Se isso fazer muito barulho, vocês me avisam, por favor, nos comentários. Só que daí eu paro de comer.
An intelligent cloud and an intelligent edge. And this entire conference is about talking about this massive shift that's going to play out in the years to come. There are three fundamental characteristics of this new application pattern and worldview. First is the user experience is getting distributed across devices. It's no longer just mobile first. In other words, it's not about one device, an app model for one device. The user experience itself is going to span all of your devices. Easiest to understand it when you think about your personal digital assistant. Your personal digital assistant, by definition, is going to be available on all your devices. And in fact, as you move between devices, it's going to be there, helping you get your tasks done. That multi-device experience is what now needs platform capability. You need new abstractions, not for just a single piece of hardware, but all of the devices that help you build out your application. And by the way, this is user experience that is not just about input. It has also got state in it. And so that's what leads to, in fact, the second big change that is happening. It's AI. We know the currency of this platform shift is all about data. We talked about the car.
Matheus, ele é o CEO da Microsoft. Satya Nadella. Ele é o grande chefão de tudo.
For an autonomous car or connected car. When you have that type of data being generated at the edge, data has gravity. Computational power will move to it. And so that means the AI you create is going to be, by definition, more distributed. You, in fact, already see these cases where people are doing a lot of the training in GPUs on the cloud, but are deploying the models in the edge. But we are reaching a point where you can't rendezvous all the data for training in the cloud. You actually will have to train and do your inferences in the edge. So you absolutely need a new set of abstractions for even AI in terms of how you learn and you train and you infer that spans both the edge and the cloud. And so as you see the experience as well as data and AI getting distributed, there needs to be a fundamental change in the inner and the outer loop of what we as developers do. Continuous integration, continuous deployment is going to change, and that's where things like microservices, containers are playing a massive role in the outer loop.
Não quero fazer muito barulho na live, galera. Meu headset tem como mutar o microfone. Acho que é melhor, né?
Think about logic is serverless. In a world where things get more distributed, event-driven.
É interessante, o Bill Gates saiu da Microsoft faz anos, cara. Acho uns 10, 15 anos que ele não tá mais na Microsoft.
It's not static, that means you don't
Aposentou já.
A piece of logic just being bound and running on one virtual machine in one location, but it's something that can actually be mobile. I mean, think about even these AI models. One of the big challenges is going to be model drift. So you want to be able to tackle that. So serverless computation is going to fundamentally not only change the economics of what is back-end computing, but it's going to be the core of the future of distributed computing. So this application paradigm shift of intelligent cloud and intelligent edge is going to be pervasively changing everything we do inside of Windows, inside of Office 365, inside of Azure. And the rest of what you will hear about in the next 3 days is about unpacking this. So what I think the best way to perhaps get into this would be to actually start seeing this in action.
Acho que agora vamos começar a ver as
demo
coisas de
we
verdade.
want to show you is from a company, Sandvik, which is a Swedish industrial automation company, 150 years old, 43,000 people in the company. They build industrial automation, these industrial metal cutting machinery that does high precision work. They built a cloud application to be able to take all of the data from their machines, do predictions, preventive maintenance. And they realized that, in fact, they started using the time series capability. So that means you were able to see the anomalies as they happen. But with time series, the cool thing is that you can, in fact, go back and see what is the causal effect or what is the causation of the anomaly.
Ele deve estar acabando já, mas
And so once you start seeing that, then they said, well, we should be
Bem ou
able
mal,
to
não é
make
evento de
these decisions on
entretenimento.
when to shut the machine
Realmente os
before it does any
desenvolvedores, tem que
damage
inspirar os
without having
desenvolvedores.
latency
Falar
and
pra eles.
bandwidth issues and so on. So
Coisas
they
mais
said, well, we
técnicas,
need to
normal.
distribute the logic that they've written in the cloud to the edge itself. And that's where they wrote Azure Functions. That's where the logic was written.
Seria legal
And
dela
then
aparecer,
they
hein?
containerized it in Docker and moved
não acho que ela vai
it
aparecer,
to
mas
the
seria bom.
edge so
Seria bem
that they
interessante.
could take those inference decisions and make them so much more faster. And to show you this demo, I wanted to invite up on stage Sam George from our IoT
Então, Dani,
team.
primeiro
to
dia
illustrate
é o que eles
how
mostram
this
tudo.
intelligent cloud and
Segundo, os
intelligent
próximos
edge
dias
is
é
already
muita coisa
working
técnica,
at Sandvik.
muita coisa de
Sam?
desenvolvimento mesmo.
Thank you, Satya.
Aí vamos
Good morning,
começar agora, hein?
everyone. So the machine that you see costs over $1 million. It has over 900 moving parts. Any of those parts that break down could cause an interruption to that machine. And this machine doesn't exist in isolation. It exists in factories. And there's many of these machines in a factory. And so downtime to one machine can cause cascading failures to the factory and delays that cost millions of dollars per hour. Now, years ago, these machines were simply serviced at regular intervals. And as Satya just said, these are now being connected to the cloud so that you can predict the maintenance needs of these and to even shut them down in the case of a pending failure. So Sandvik Coromant has these connected to Azure, and they trust Azure and Azure IoT to keep these machines running and to keep them safe. So let's take a look at what they're doing. So here you see both the factory floor and the edge devices, as well as the cloud. Sandvik has software that's running on these machines, and the software is collecting telemetry from these devices and sending them to IoT Hub, to our Azure IoT Hub service, in a secure, scalable, two-way communication.
das máquinas da
Once the
fábrica,
telemetry is through Azure IoT Hub, they're using a combination of stream analytics and machine learning to determine the maintenance needs of these machines and keep them running, and also to trigger a shutdown in the case of a pending damage to the machine. And so when that happens, they simply trigger an Azure function, which calls through Azure IoT Hub and then down to the devices themselves. Now, Sandvik, like many of our industrial customers, has also implemented fail-safe logic that runs out on the machine. So if there's a local network interruption, they can still monitor whether the machine needs to be shut down to protect it. And they had to develop that again.
Ademir,
They
obrigado
already have that
pelo
logic running in
superchat.
the cloud. And what they really, really want is to be able to take that logic in the cloud and move it out to the edge. So today, I'm thrilled to announce a breakthrough new capability we call Azure IoT Edge. Azure IoT Edge is a cross-platform runtime that runs on both Windows and Linux. It runs on devices even smaller than a
Azure
Raspberry
IoT
Pi.
Edge.
And
IoT
it
é a internet
enables
das coisas.
cloud functionality to be
É o que torna
exported,
tipo as coisas
run, and
inteligentes, tipo
managed
geladeira
directly on
inteligente,
IoT devices remotely.
relógio inteligente.
So now the picture starts to look dramatically different. Now Sandvik can simply take that logic and export it and run down on these devices. And what's nice about that is you get a nice symmetry where logic can be tested and developed in the cloud You can run CI/CD pipelines in the cloud, and on successful deployments, you can run the exact same code out on the devices at very low latency.
Galera, não vou responder nos comentários porque eu tô me perdendo muito. Já não tô entendendo o que tá falando mais porque eu tô lendo nos comentários.
So what you see here
então as perguntas a gente fica pro final do vídeo. Bom, superchat vou dar prioridade, lógico, mas o resto vou evitar olhar, tá?
So these are all the different machines on this factory floor. Now each one of these machines has its own unique telemetry that it's sending to the cloud.
Tá, e se ele está controlando várias máquinas usando o Microsoft Edge.
And all of that telemetry was used to create those machine learning modules that are fine-tuned to predict the maintenance needs for each one of these machines and to shut them down in the case of a pending failure.
Um controlador online do,
so if I go over to the Azure tab here, I can see all of the different logic that Sandvik has developed for these
pelo
machines.
Azure, que é a ferramenta de nuvem da Microsoft,
the metal cutting machine that you saw when I came out. With this new capability that we've developed called Azure IoT Edge and this capability in the cloud, we can now simply take that logic and export it. And they get packaged up into portable Docker containers. And now when I go back to the factory floor, I get an alert on the machine that I just exported that there's new software available for it.
Tá, então você pode exportar configurações de uma máquina e importá-la em outra.
For this machine, and it's got all sorts of interesting information, temperature, power consumption, but there's a really important one I want to draw your attention to, and that's up in the upper right-hand corner, the emergency response time. And what that is how long it takes for telemetry coming from these devices to be sent to the cloud, evaluated, and in the case of an emergency shutdown, for a signal to be sent back down to the device. Right now, that's a little over 2 seconds, and with Azure IoT Edge, we could do dramatically better. So these packages that I exported are now available. I'm going to open them up and select them. Now, I've already coordinated ahead of time with the IT and OT teams so that I know that it's safe to update these machines. And when I click deploy, what's going to happen is we're going to network these containers down to the machine, we're going to activate them, and they're going to start running that protection code right on the machine. And you're going to see the emergency response time drop dramatically. The reason why is that logic is now running locally, so there's no cloud loop involved in it anymore. So I go ahead and click deploy. It's now downloading, installing, and running.
Galera, são 3 horas de evento, então calma, só começou faz meia hora, tem mais 2 horas e meia de evento ainda, pelo menos mais 2 horas, porque acho que o último 30 minutos vai ser o Satya dela falando mais um pouco. Mas tem muita coisa para mostrar ainda, tá?
This is the power of Azure IoT Edge, and it's the power of an intelligent cloud working in harmony with an intelligent edge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. I mean, that shows you the simple but powerful illustration of how you can take logic, distribute it to, in this case, improve response times. Now let's take it to the next logical step. In fact, let's take it to the extreme. When you think about the last, say, 20 years or so, one of the most profound changes that we've seen is what's happened with the web and something like search, where all the text that was ever created could get indexed and searched, reasoned over. I mean, we're crawling all the time. We're able to understand all of the world's text and then to serve it up, knowing what's in it. Just imagine if we can do that with any physical place. Suppose we can create these digital twins of a hospital, of an industrial setting, a factory floor.
Nuvem inteligente.
Fundamentally, you could start reasoning about people, their relationship with other people, the things in the place, all towards creating safety for human beings. When you can start setting policy on what is safe interactions.
Tá, pra gente vai falar de segurança na nuvem agora.
That can absolutely change lives and make sure that some of the, in fact, there was a survey that was done by the National Council of Occupational Safety and Health, and basically it said that pretty much all of the accidents in the workplace can, in fact, be prevented if you were able to detect these anomalies before they happen. So that's the kind of impact some of the technology that we have now can have. And so we put together a demo for you using pretty much the runtimes that are all available to us. The new Azure IoT Edge, when you have lots and lots of devices in a place and you're creating a mesh, in fact, an ad hoc data center gets created pretty much nowadays in a factory floor or at home or anywhere else. And for that, we even have Azure Stack as the edge of the cloud so that you have the computation and storage capability. You have the ability to run these cognitive services, things like computer vision on a commodity camera. Bringing all of this edge compute together and edge intelligence together with the cloud, you can turn any place into a safe AI-driven place. And what we wanted to do is roll a video to show you some of the scenarios.
Ok, basicamente o que estão falando é que você pode trazer qualquer ambiente digital para a nuvem para tornar ele mais seguro, usando a inteligência artificial. Ela vai dar uma demonstração de como isso funciona. As our world becomes increasingly digitized, so does our ability to connect with it. Imagine if you could search your surroundings the same way you search the web. Using existing cameras and advances in AI, we can now find things and people in the real world in real time and take action. Safe. This technology is also useful in an environment like a construction site, where people who need specialized tools are spread out, sometimes across multiple floors. Using cameras already in place, this technology can identify a specific tool, as well as the closest authorized person who can deliver it, saving everyone time and keeping the workflow moving. The digital and physical worlds are coming together to help make everyone more safe, secure, and productive. And we're bringing the edge of Microsoft's cloud to any device. Legal. Bem interessante. Você usa a nuvem.
So let's take a look at how you can digitize real-world environments like what we just saw in the video.
Agora ficou interessante, né? Agora vocês gostaram, certeza.
Using Microsoft Azure Stack, Azure Functions, cognitive services, and commodity cameras that make this a reality.
Basicamente você usa a nuvem para tornar as coisas mais seguras. Você consegue fazer a câmera reconhecer possíveis acidentes.
Being able to track equipment, people, and what they're doing is
critical sistema avisa você para ir lá corrigir.
So the first thing I want to show you is over to your right, where we have a construction yard, and you're going to see Yana is working. Using our technology right now, both people and object recognition models are currently deployed in that construction yard. And then on the screen there before you, you can see the solution is recognizing Yana in real time, as well as equipment like the green jackhammer on the floor there. Now, over next door to your left is a workshop space, which is where Ayuba is working. And right now, with our technology, only people recognition is deployed in that space. So we're going to start by searching for an object.
Então, de um lado está reconhecendo a pessoa e vários objetos, do outro lado está reconhecendo só a pessoa.
A jackhammer. I'm going to type, where is the jackhammer? If I could spell it, I'll type it. There we go. Now you can see, even though there is actually a jackhammer resting against the bench in Ayuba's workshop, the system doesn't see it but it does find the one next door, which again is where we have both people and object recognition deployed. The system is going to let me do things like find who's trained to use that jackhammer and also who last used it. And so that means I can actually use this technology to ensure my project is meeting health and safety regulations. And so in order to do that, I'm going to deploy an object recognition model in the workshop. But before I do, take note again of that jackhammer in Ayuba's workshop. It is resting vertically against the bench, which is actually a very unsafe position for such a large, heavy object to be in.
Tá, aparentemente do lado direito está reconhecendo as coisas, ele já programou para reconhecer, e onde está reconhecendo a pessoa não tem programação nenhuma, ela vai criar programação agora. Porque tem aquela ferramenta lá, uma posição perigosa, acho que ela vai programar para ser reconhecido.
But it is also going to tell me it's in an unstable orientation, and it's going to notify Ayuba, so he's able to very quickly resolve the issue. The solution is running more than 27 million recognitions per second across people, objects, and activities, both in the yard and in the workshop. And we're making changes to the solution in real time in the cloud and deploying it to the edge, which is a great example of how we can stretch the cloud to create a mesh of interconnected devices and services. So now, imagine if we could take that a step further, recognizing people and then applying a set of policies to them to ensure workplace safety. Over in the construction yard, we have a new employee, Christina, who is showing up for her first day of work. So I'm going to go ahead and onboard her into the system just by using this phone again and typing a simple command. Show me non-employees on the job site.
Mostra funcionários no local de trabalho.
Now, because this is a highly controlled environment and health and safety is so imperative, there are cameras already deployed on that job site. And so they have already captured her photo, and that makes it very easy to onboard her. I can just click on her picture, new person, and go ahead and enter her information.
Consegue diferenciar as pessoas, legal.
Okay, so now she's onboarded. And now I can create a new policy to enforce that credentialed employees can do things like use jackhammers. So I'm going to type a policy. Only credentialed.
Você pode colocar credenciais, entre aspas, para cada funcionário. Por exemplo, um funcionário só pode usar a furadeira, ele não pode usar uma enxada, por exemplo. Aí você fala que se a câmera reconhecer que ele está pegando a enxada que não pode, provavelmente você vai ser avisado.
And I won't get any policy violations, which means my regulations are being met. Now, if somebody who is not authorized to use that equipment comes onto the construction yard, a workflow is going to notify me and people nearby of a potentially dangerous situation.
Se uma pessoa não autorizada a usar a ferramenta,
for example,
você é avisado logo.
You can see the violation's been triggered, and Christine is able to quickly resolve it. Now, this was an intentionally simple scenario, but examples like this one and the ones you saw in the video are all based on real customer requirements. And they support even more complex business processes using cognitive services, Azure Functions, Azure Stack, and commodity cameras to bring the edge of Microsoft's cloud to any device. The intelligent edge is the interface between the computer and the real world. And so we have just shown you how you can search the real world for people, objects, and activities and apply policies to them to improve health and safety. It's early days, but we are really excited for the potential of AI for workplace safety. And with this technology, we think you have an opportunity to build even more sophisticated solutions that have the power to transform entire industries. And we'll share more over the next 12 months. Thank you.
Ok, legal. Interessante, interessante. Tá começando a ficar bom.
Thank you, Andrea.
Imagina o HoloLens, fica pensando a mesma coisa quando você
chega. Of what this new architecture, the ability to distribute intelligence in the cloud as well as in the edge can do to deliver something like AI for safety. But now let's move to end user computing, right? So we've seen a couple of amazing examples of what's happening with these industrial applications. But what's happening with the edge is for sure happening with the devices we use every day. In fact, just the social complexity. Bill Buxton, who is a UI researcher, always likes to remind me that the fundamental challenge we have as an industry right now is the social complexity of our devices. I mean, just think about the notifications. How many times do I need to get notified across all my devices? In order to solve for that, you need to be able to have that intelligence that spans all of your devices. You need to have these agents that span all of your devices. And so you need a new architecture for everything from notifications to agents to task completion. And that's really what we are set out to build. In fact, the journey got started with Office 365. You know, Office 365 was pretty profound in the sense that we took workloads like Exchange or Skype or SharePoint to the cloud. But beyond the move of an individual workload to the cloud, the more profound shift that happened was underneath. It was the data plane. The people and the relationship with other people is now a first-class thing in the cloud. It's not just people, but it's their relationships. It's their relationships to all of the work artifacts, their schedules, their project plans, their documents. All
Galera,
of
por
that
enquanto
now
releva esse negócio dos iPhone,
is
Android.
manifest in this Microsoft graph.
Não é o foco por enquanto.
And with
Parece por enquanto, vamos ver até o
the
final.
move to Windows as a service, you even have all of the devices that people use moving to the cloud itself. So you now have this very rich data graph of people, their activities, their devices, all principled under user security principles and organizational security principles. So when we talked about that Azure Active Directory and the Microsoft account, those security principles still govern the access to all of this data. So it's really the user's data. But now there is a new platform in Microsoft Graph that allows every developer, as they start constructing these multi-device experiences, to be able to access people, their relationships, their activities, as well as their devices.
Tá, onde você quer chegar, Nadal?
And you'll see this even tomorrow in the Windows presentation as to how this programming model is going to manifest at the core of what is Windows applications going forward.
Não quero saber de amanhã, velho.
And so if you take a scenario like meetings, and most people think about meetings as a one-time thing, but the reality is people come together, collaborate before a meeting, to prepare for the meeting, and then during the meeting, and then want to be able to access the artifacts from the meeting after the meeting. Right, so there is a temporal part to a meeting, there is multiple people, multiple devices.
As pessoas, vários
And when you
dispositivos.
think about building an application or an experience for meeting, thinking about it as in simple terms of a single device experience or a single cloud service is just not sufficient. You need new programming model abstractions that allow you to think about everything that spans an intelligent meeting. And to show you this in action, I wanted to invite up on stage Laura Jones and team to show you how intelligent meetings can be built using everything that we have in the Microsoft Graph and Office 365, in Azure, as well as in Windows and other devices.
Pelo que entendi, é uma coisa nova, programação, uma coisa assim.
Thanks.
Today, we're going to show you 3 things that demonstrate our vision for the future of productivity.
Mostrar 3 coisas para a visão
First,
de
how
futuras
Microsoft services work across
produtividade.
contexts and devices. Second, how developers
Microsoft
can
Search.
leverage the
Se eu
Microsoft
ficar lendo, vamos
Graph
perder, gente.
to
Desculpa.
build device intelligence right into their apps. And third, how we're bringing together our productivity platform to optimize the meeting experience.
O ideal seria ter alguém comigo para
Hey, Cortana, what's my day look like?
I found 3 events today. First up, at 9 a.m. you have a meeting titled Packaging Review. It looks like you're low on fuel,
Eu tô
so
perguntando
I
como vai
suggest
estar o
leaving
calendário
10
dela
minutes
hoje.
early
Ela
to
tá
make
falando,
your
ó, 9
9
horas você tem
a.m.
um
meeting on
evento.
time. Also, you got an update from
Depois da
Expedia
reunião você tem
confirming flights
uma
and a hotel room.
Right. That's
atualização no
the upcoming
no
vacation I have,
expediente
so I
do
better
hotel.
let my boss know. Hey, Cortana. Ask time away to set my out of office from Monday to Friday.
Okay, you're marked as out of office from Monday to Friday. Your auto-reply message is set, and your time off has been entered in the time away system.
Awesome.
Mudou alguma
Developers
coisa
can
na
create
reunião dela,
Cortana
no
skills
calendário.
that work across platforms, like this example with the Invoke speaker, where Cortana's working directly with my work's time off system to fulfill my request. Hey, Cortana, do I have any other reminders for today?
Hey, Cortana, tem lembrete hoje?
You mentioned you would provide a list of designers for review in today's meeting.
Right. Remind me when I get to the
Não
car.
entendi o que ela falou.
Got it.
With the device graph, I'm able to push this notification to any of my devices. So I could push it to my Xbox, but since I'm headed that way, I've gone ahead and set it to my car. Don't laugh, it gets great fuel economy.
Ok, pedi pra Cortana lembrar ela de algum evento quando ela estiver no carro.
So with the help of
Então,
Cortana, I'm fueled
ela foi
up
pro
and
carro
ready to
agora.
make my meeting on time.
There's an accident on 520 that will make you late for your 9 a.m. meeting. Would you like me to let the other attendees know and connect you when it starts?
Yes, please.
A Cortana falou que tem um acidente no trajeto normal dela.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Guess I spoke too soon.
Hi Laura, just a reminder to provide a list of designers for your packaging review meeting.
Ask LinkedIn to pull all the designers from my network.
Cortana o carro, isso eu quero muito, cara. Eu quero
I found
muito
all
mesmo.
the designers in your network. Would you like me to read out the top 5 or send you a summary?
Send a summary to my product review channel.
Okay, I added that to your team channel.
Because Cortana's aware of the device I'm on, she's able to provide me with contextually appropriate responses, so I can take the best next step.
Hi Laura, your meeting is about to start. Should I connect you?
Yes, please.
Ela vai entrar numa reunião direto do
Hey
carro.
folks, I'm running a little late, but go ahead and get started without me.
No worries, Laura. We got your note earlier. So while Laura joins, let me take a second and show you guys around Microsoft Teams.
Então, tecnicamente, ela
For those of
enviou
you that haven't
anotações
seen it,
diretamente do carro
this is
com a
Microsoft
Cortana
Teams,
para os
the new
funcionários dela,
chat-based
parceiro de
collaborative
funcionário. Ela
workspace
falou que vai
in
se
Office
atrasar.
365.
Que a
And
Cortana
we're
já
in a Teams
avisou que
meeting.
tinha um acidente no
Now,
trajeto.
one of the great features in Teams is
Ela entrou
tabs.
em ligação no carro
Using
mesmo com a
tabs,
Cortana
I
e
can
falou
take
pro pessoal
anything that I
seguir a
access
reunião
most
sem ela.
frequently, whether it's documents, any third-party content, or like this Power BI tab here, which has our survey results. And I can pin it in my channel. And from there, I can easily screen share it straight into my meeting.
Now, one of the most disruptive things that can happen in a meeting is when someone enters the room late or
Galera, uma
enters the
coisa,
call
presta
late.
atenção muito quando
Now, what if I
mostrar a
could simply just
desktop.
walk into the meeting,
Sempre
and
aparece uma
just like
coisinha nova
that,
ali
the
que tipo, o
Teams
cara não
app has
almoçou
turned
e nem vai
into
anunciar.
companion mode because it's
Agora
aware of
não
my
tem nada,
context.
aparentemente. Tem só
Windows is
programinha
adding
novo ali,
two
mas
new
tipo, é o que
components
tá
to
na
the
tela.
Microsoft Graph. Activities like this meeting that I'm in or a document that I
Mas,
might
por
be
exemplo,
working on throughout the
parece
day,
que a bolinha de
and
Cortana
devices
tá maior.
like this
Tipo, um
iOS
detalhe
device.
diferente e tal.
Here, we're using Project Rome to adapt my app based on the fact that I've walked into a meeting. Developers can leverage these APIs through the Project Rome SDK to bridge the gaps between people, apps, devices, and services and enable truly mobile experiences.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Rashir. Hi, Fatima. How are things going with the focus group data?
Hey, yeah, I looked at the data last night. The demographic that we're aiming for prefers a cleaner font with more blues and greens.
Okay, good to know. Let's go ahead and pull up the LinkedIn list that I sent from the car.
Sure. Let me share the LinkedIn tab.
I've worked with Joe before on a similar project. Rashir, would
Quem
you
não
mind
conhece é
pulling
o
up some of
Office
his
Teams,
current
tá
work?
bom? Microsoft
Sure.
Teams.
Now, in my
um
Teams
programa para
meetings, I can
reuniões
also chat with
empresariais
my
mesmo.
channel's bots. And developers can use the Microsoft Bot Framework to light up some amazing conversational experiences in Teams meetings. Let me show you one.
Você responde superchat? Cara, respondo qualquer dúvida aí. Superchat é a prioridade, lógico que em destaque. E obviamente eu vou dar prioridade para
Adobe
isso.
Creative Cloud Bot show me Joe Manzo's recent projects.
That looks cool. Laura, saying that you worked with Joe before, do you mind making the connection for us?
Esse sotaque indiano acho tão estranho.
Great. Meeting spot. Assign task to Laura to connect with Joe on the packaging project.
Great. Now that that's done, I wanted to show you guys the latest comps for the packaging. With the Teams Companion app, I'm able to share video and photo straight into the meeting. Now, I think it's a little retro, but let me know what you guys think.
Yeah, that's retro.
Right, well, hopefully Joe can bring it up to date. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye, Fatma.
Compartilhando direto o celular ali na live, legal.
So when I get back to my desk and open up my laptop, Cortana's waiting there for me with an action item from earlier in the day. When I click on the notification, it takes me to Outlook, where there's an email with my meeting summary. It has the attendee list, the video links, the tabs used, and the bot interactions. Best of all, here's my action item. I could go ahead and mark it as complete right in the email, but I want to dig in a bit more. Developers could add content to this actionable email or create Outlook plugins like this one from Microsoft Stream. When I click on the plugin, the Stream service gives me a transcription of the meeting. I can see key points, when they were made, and who made them. This way, I can get the context that I need to complete my action item. And of course, the Stream service uses the publicly available Microsoft Translation APIs, so I could get this in the language of my choice. So what you've seen us show you today are Teams and Cortana, two services leveraging the intelligent edge and Microsoft Graph. With hero experiences like these, you're able to turn any device into a productivity device. So I can move fluidly throughout my day, no matter where I am. Developers can leverage the Microsoft Graph to create systems of intelligence that will fundamentally change the future and culture of work. Thank you.
Não sei se vai dar para deixar a live toda aí salva, porque tem limite para salvar.
Thank you, Laura. So it's a pretty amazing world you can create using this new platform of intelligent cloud and intelligent edge. Hopefully the three examples give you a feel for the depth and breadth of apps you could build. You can build these intelligent cloud apps, you can distribute them using these intelligent edge runtimes, you can have the operational complexity of all of that distributed computing tamed because of these new technologies like serverless compute with support for microservices and containers. You can extend the Microsoft Graph, you can consume the Microsoft Graph and reason over it, build intelligence into every experience that spans devices. So it's a pretty awesome set of capabilities that these platforms provide, and you'll see a lot more of this throughout the rest of the conference. But I want to close where I started. It's this opportunity and responsibility that we have in front of us. Really, the future of computing is not going to be defined by any runtime or platform technology. It is going to be defined by the choices that you as developers make and the impact of those choices in the world. And I'm always inspired when I listen to these stories of an individual developer who develops this deep sense of empathy for a scenario and other human beings, and then goes after it with this most malleable of resources that we have, software, and changes the world. Let's roll the video of one such developer.
Vamos ver mais vídeo sobre vídeos de desenvolvedores.
Okay, right, I'm going to try and replicate this here. We're off to a great start. I tend to kind of just avoid doing sketching and writing now because it's not really worth it if you get something like that. Anything you could do that would just make my hand do what I want it to do and to be able to sign my name would be an incredible thing.
How do we even just begin to help her overcome this particular symptom of her tremors and helping her be able to regain her writing ability, her drawing ability?
So what I'm doing is I'm making a very rough prototype, and what this board does is I can connect into it through these wires, these tiny coin cell motors. So these motors will vibrate. I personally think that what this is doing is it's short-circuiting whatever feedback loop there is between the brain and the hand that's causing the tremors. So the idea is if you are distracted by the vibration, are you able to write better? I don't know. I don't know.
It's affecting something. I don't quite know what's happening.
I'm onto something,
right? I'm onto something.
Aí, ó, apareceu o Windows Phone, ó, tá vendo, ó? Viu? Aparece, gente. Vai com calma, eles mostram.
Oh my god. It makes me forget that I have a tremor. I've drawn one of them for a long time. I've actually just written my name for like the first time in ages.
I can't believe it.
Mum, it's called the Emma.
Oh, brilliant.
It's got my name on it. Right.
Forte, hein? Tá chorando aqui.
Ladies and gentlemen, Emma and Hyan.
Aplauda aí também.
Thank you so much, Emma and Hyan, for being here.
Porra, quase chorei na live, mano. Que mancada.
And inspiring all of us. And showing, I believe, what that opportunity and responsibility that we all have as developers to build that common ground with our fellow human beings, to have that impact. Thank you so much again for being here, inspiring us, and I hope that this is something that we as developers can take forward with the choices we make. Thank you all very, very much, and thank you again.
Eu sou fanboy assumido, eu assumo.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Build. Satya just demonstrated some of the incredible opportunities that we as developers all have today, and the amazing impact that we can have on people's lives. Now, I'm not going to go deeper into the intelligent cloud platform that we're building here at Microsoft and talk about the platforms and tools that we're building to enable you to take advantage of and build amazing solutions. One of the defining aspects of cloud computing is really the ability to innovate and release new technology faster and at greater scale than ever before. The set of new technology that's coming out, things like IoT, AI, microservices, serverless computing, and more, is all happening right now, thanks in large part due to cloud computing. And it's an incredibly exciting time to be a developer, and the opportunities to explore new approaches and new technology has never been greater. At the same time, I also recognize that while all this stuff is amazingly cool, it can also be just a little overwhelming. I hear this concern a lot from a lot of the conversations I have with developers around the world. The expectation to know all these new technologies and to be up to date with them all the time can leave you feeling sometimes like you're falling behind. Similarly, the expectations that your companies now have on you to be able to quickly deliver breakthrough experiences with all this new technology is also incredibly high. And in a lot of cases now, your companies are now betting on you to really deliver new digital experiences that don't just run the business, but really transform the business and drive new revenue streams. And at the same time, there's a constant worry that sometimes some of the apps that you build might be hacked. And you now need to be careful, not just about the security, but also while simultaneously trying to learn the new tech and deliver these breakthrough experiences. And needless to say, all of this isn't easy. And it's really with this understanding that shapes how we build and design and deliver Azure. Every day my team works to make Azure a powerful enterprise-grade cloud service. But the more important thing that we're working on is really to build Azure to help guide your success. Having great technology and lots of features is necessary, but not really sufficient. It's really about how those features enable you to be successful with that technology and with the cloud. And deliver on this, we're focusing Azure innovation on your needs. By making cutting-edge technology approachable to every developer and doing the heavy lifting to really ensure that Azure uniquely meets the enterprise scenarios that you require. Satya spoke about responsibility and trust quite a bit this morning when he was talking about technology. Trust is a core value of everything we do at Microsoft and specifically with Azure. And we now lead the industry in our work on security, compliance, privacy, and responsibility. And in everything that we deliver, we've really tried to design the features that we build
Azure
to drive
serviço de
results.
nuvem da Microsoft.
This means having an end-to-end experience across our platform services, our management tools, our development tools, that really provide the most productive developer experience possible and really enables you to build amazing solutions that can truly transform your businesses. What I'd like to do to kind of give you an idea of what this looks like and how all these pieces fit together is invite Scott Hanselman on stage now to show off a demo of the combination of Azure and our Visual Studio family of tools in action, and to really highlight the end-to-end experience you now get when developing for Azure and the Microsoft Cloud. Here's Scott.
Hi, friends.
Hello.
You've heard how Azure is delivering innovation that's been customized for your needs, designed for results, all inside of the trusted cloud. And one of the ways that we do this is through our management stack and the dev tools to give you the things that will guide you to success. Now, here I am in the Azure portal. You've probably seen this many times before and you're familiar with it.
Parte mais técnica, vou ver os
You
comentários
can
de vocês
customize
aqui.
it, and I've customized it here. I've built on top of this management stack by pinning information from all over Azure. I've pulled in an application insights application map. I've got requests from my website, database utilization, pulled in compute information, all inside of my customizable dashboard that I can then share with other people on my team. One of the things that's exciting about this, though, is to understand why this is working. It's because of all those programmatic APIs that Azure exposes to you, the end user. Each one of these is coming from a different Azure resource and presenting its information in an easy to understand and customizable way. That's an amazing UI experience for both developers and DevOps people, but we've also put a huge investment into our CLI, into our command line interface, and we thought what better way to showcase that than to announce today the inclusion of the Azure Cloud Shell inside of the Azure portal.
Como é algo muito técnico, não sei se vai ser muito interessante para vocês. Algumas partes eu não sei para onde vai. É por aí, cara. É muita parte de programação, mas essa é a parte mais técnica. Não tem jeito, cara. Build é evento do desenvolvedor. Isso é muito interessante para quem é desenvolvedor, para quem programa e tal. Tipo, tá falando coisas que vai facilitar muito a vida de todo mundo. Mas para quem é usuário final, assim que nem nós, é pouco interessante aí por enquanto.
Included in the Azure Cloud Shell is the Azure CLI.
Basicamente está falando sobre o Azure, maneira de facilitar um pouco a programação em nuvem dos softwares e tal. É coisa bem técnica isso aí, cara. Não é algo que vai ser muito útil para o usuário não, mas para quem é desenvolvedor mesmo. Então nem vou perder muito tempo explicando isso, porque quem é desenvolvedor acaba já entendendo tudo isso aí que ele está falando. O que perguntaram aqui mesmo que eu ia responder? Sobre a legenda. Cara, a legenda que eu falei no começo da live, não tem como aumentar, tá? A legenda é pequena assim mesmo. Por sorte tem a legenda, né? Poderia nem ter isso. Mas...
What's cool about this, though, is I can go and maybe do something complicated. Why not create 1,000 virtual machines from the command line, right? Why not? So let's just hit enter and make
tá, mas trava deve ser que agora parece que normalizou. Deu uma travadinha há pouco tempo, mas meio rápido.
And since I don't know how to exit Vim,
crescer deve, mas eu sou bom demais.
Reboot Azure completely to get out of Vim.
Tenho uma pequena noção de desenvolvimento. Eu já fiz 3 semestres de faculdade, mas tipo, não me dei muito bem.
And click on my resources in the corner here, and those 1,000 virtual machines are coming up in a virtual machine scale.
Mas parte mais complicada, né? A gente já não sabe muito inglês, então já fica complicado. Aí vai falar sobre outra linguagem ainda, tipo, de programação dentro de inglês, aí complica, né? Mas por enquanto é a parte assim. Isso tem muito em evento da Microsoft. Bem ou mal não é evento para público, é evento para desenvolvedor mesmo. Opa, falou um shell? Não, achei que era esse shell.
Wouldn't it be nice if I could monitor and deal with those virtual machines on the go? So another great announcement today is the Azure mobile app on iPhone and Android.
Tá, agora tá falando sobre o aplicativo de desenvolvedores para Android e iPhone. Tem para Windows aí? Eu não sei se tem. Aí complica, né, Microsoft? Fica difícil defender você assim. O pessoal tudo uau, o pessoal, você começa a desenvolver no celular praticamente. Tipo.
I know that non-technical spouse will appreciate my attention to detail there with the family. There's no way that will affect my relationships at all.
Sim, Paula, praticamente isso.
So I can manage all that great stuff in Azure, but I noticed something earlier when I logged in. I saw that there was an error here in my application map that was making me a little uncomfortable. I saw that my availability wasn't very high.
Convenhamos para o desenvolvedor
on the server side. So I'm going to go and look at the full application map and go from the portal into application insights. This gives you this great experience that shows you all of your dependencies. So you can see that my web application depends on this API, and it looks like we've got a out-of-range exception and a number of them.
Azure
so we've
Mobile,
received a large number of exceptions. I'm going to go ahead and click on those exceptions and take a look where they happened, when they happened, how they happened.
O áudio tá ok, galera?
This is going to automatically create a debug snapshot. The intelligent cloud has been watching what's happening, and it's intelligently sampling. There's been hundreds of errors, but it's picked the best ones, like a burst mode on your phone, picking the one that makes you look best. And here it's got a debug snapshot that I can then open up. I'm on production, though. This is running in production on Azure. So let's switch over to Visual Studio that we know and love. And I want to call your attention to the upper left-hand corner.
Vitor, infelizmente não tem como aumentar a legenda. A legenda é desse tamanho, tamanho é fixo.
Running in Azure. And I want to point out that the URL is not localhost. What we're doing here is we're enabling safe debugging with production data. The intelligent snapshots are seeing the errors happen without affecting my users in production, popping off these snapshots. But I can also give hints. If the automatic snapshots aren't enough, I could say, I'm suspicious of this and that line. And then I can start and not make a breakpoint like we do when we do local debugging, but a snap point that is going to tell Azure
basicamente ele estava fazendo debug. Debug é... Não posso explicar para vocês. Basicamente ele faz código, vai executando o código para encontrar bugs. Aí o debug ele bate as linhas onde tem algum erro e aí ele verifica se o erro está naquele ponto mesmo. Sempre que eu entendo, eu sou bem leigo em programação. Mas é uma coisa do tipo.
In the debugger that I love to use, I've got the call stack, I've got the objects
Olha, embaixo tem todos os objetos da plataforma que está desenvolvendo.
Unless they happen in production, and that is now integrated with the intelligent cloud of Azure and Visual Studio.
Ele é para encontrar os erros.
You go and combine that with something fabulous like Code Lens that tells me when the team made the mistakes, and I know immediately that Dan has to go.
Não tem ícone de notificação, não reparei, cara. Deixa eu ver se ele mostra de novo.
And there's the failed requests both locally, because I can then continue my debug session locally, or see which exceptions happen, and then analyze the impact of those
changes. Mas deixa eu falar no ícone central de notificação. Deixa eu ver. Pode estar ou cortando, não está cortando. Pode ser ou é uma segunda tela, porque como são os dois monitores, a central de notificações só aparece em outra tela, ou ele simplesmente desabilitou, dá para você desabilitar, normal.
Here is Visual Studio for the Mac, and I'm running that application. In Visual Studio for Mac, based on the Xamarin technology, I can say file, new solution, pick a native app.
Quem tem MacBook, quem tem Mac, macOS pode programar para Windows. Cadê a porra do Windows? Aí, ó, isso é mancada, mano. Por que não coloca o Windows ali, cara? Tem Android, tem OS, por que não Windows, né, mano? Essas horas fica difícil defender a Microsoft.
IDE, and even better, I can right click.
Tudo bem, com certeza é um outro menu ali que você tem que separar, que você pode focar só no Windows, mas aí é aí que não traz desenvolvedor, porque você pode programar para Windows e Android ao mesmo tempo, para iOS e Android ao mesmo tempo, aí para Windows tem que abrir uma outra janelinha, isso aí já... Se eu fosse desenvolvedor, eu ia ficar com preguiça de fazer isso realmente.
That'll pop up here in the corner. We're going to go and build that .NET application. Launch it. I am now published to Azure, and I'm running that application from Visual Studio for Mac, and there we go. And what's even more exciting about this, and what I am very proud to announce, is the general availability and the release of Visual Studio for Mac.
Wow. Okay. Visual Studio para Mac. Tinha antes, não tinha? Com certeza tinha anunciado muito tempo atrás.
So all of these tools sit on top of that trusted cloud. So let's talk about trust for a second and switch back over to the Azure portal. If I have 1,000 virtual machines in the cloud, that can be a little overwhelming, and I want to make sure that those things are secure. I can go into the Azure Security Center and look at all of the different things I have from compute,
Mac eu gosto, cara.
web applications, and look at specific recommendations that Azure has as it calls into that management stack and explores what my application's doing, and I can see I should maybe add a next generation firewall, possibly put disk encryption on some of my virtual machines.
Bruce, provavelmente vai ser hoje, cara. A parte de amanhã é um negócio extremamente técnico. Bem mais do que está agora.
Security incident detected. Apparently Guthrie is in the back with the mobile app attacking my virtual machine, so I need to go and take care of that. As you see here, we've got these amazing, innovative tools for management, for development, and they're going to make you not just productive.
Então, a Visual Studio Code é diferente do EDC, né? Mas já tinha para o Mac.
Every developer, every language, and every application, and we're going to guide you to success on the Azure cloud. Thank you.
O Studio 2017 não está disponível para Mac ainda, eu acho. Ok, pode ser isso.
When you build for Azure, and really showed off a number of the great enhancements that we're shipping this week. We have a whole bunch more, but you just kind of showed, I think, a nice sampling of these. In particular, we're really excited to announce that the Azure Cloud Shell is now available to use, and this gives you a fantastic way to manage all your Azure resources, not just from the CLI, but a CLI directly inside a browser, so you don't even need to install anything locally. We also have the Azure Mobile Portal available for you to download.
Agora nada de Windows 10 para usuário comum. Cara,
Visual Studio Snapshot debugging support. This now really enables you to debug production apps without impacting
users. Tem até o final do evento ainda para mostrar uma coisa.
And we're incredibly excited about the general availability release of VS4 Mac. Every customer that has Visual Studio today is now licensed for both the existing IDE you have as well as for Visual Studio on the Mac. And this gives you now the ability to develop with a single code base, develop on multiple platforms. And you can now target both mobile and cloud, as well as .NET Core and ASP.NET Core, all within the IDE you love. And including, as you saw Scott show off, with the Visual Studio for Mac support, is for the first time Azure tooling support built in directly with that, enabling you to publish all of that to the cloud. So the focus we've had on sort of delivering on innovation, trust, and results is leading to tremendous adoption of Azure right now. 90% of the largest 500 companies in the world are now running their businesses using the Microsoft Cloud. And these are just a handful of some of the customers running on Azure today. What I want to do is let's go ahead and watch a video of a few of them talking about the success they're seeing with Azure.
Videozinho legais.
Microsoft Azure gives us key cloud-based infrastructure that we need. We made a big decision to break down our existing platform, which was one big, large, monolithic lump of software, into a microservice architecture.
This Black Friday, we served 167 million requests in the 24 hours. Average page response times came down by about half a second. That's what you're looking for in a new platform.
Azure provides the glue that brings together the data from our internal on-premise systems and join that with information held in the cloud.
Tá praticamente falando dos serviços que o Azure fortaleceu, tipo, eu dei um exemplo bem bom que pode ser aqui no Brasil também. Black Friday, tipo, como aumenta muito o fluxo de compras online, o Azure conseguiu dar conta, quando eles migraram para o Azure, o site deles conseguiu dar conta do recado, com grande fluxo de transição, essas coisas.
We wanted to make it really easy for our customers to get meaning out of their data. The industrial Internet of Things is different only in the fact that our customers have very stringent requirements about how data moves. We want one place to egress that data that we can lock down. The advantage of it being Azure is IoT Hubs makes it very easy to get that data in. Power BI makes it very easy to visualize that data once it's there.
It allows us to put a data scientist in a box.
Microsoft helped us achieve our digital transformation. It's put us over the top. Geico's been growing leaps and bounds, and we have not had any issues whatsoever from a capacity perspective because of the on-demand capability and scalability of Azure. We can handle the volume. We're like, bring it on. We want more.
So you can use Azure for infrastructure and just take advantage of it for base compute, storage, and virtual machines. But you can also take advantage of a coherent set of highly engineered services to build your apps even faster. And what I'm going to do for the rest of this keynote is walk through a couple of these key areas and talk about some of the announcements this week that we're doing to make you even more successful with them. Let's start by talking about data. Data is a core part of every app and experience being built today. And the couple of things that we hear, that I hear a lot from developers is, one, you really love your particular database of choice. And you want to be able to keep using it as you move to the cloud. And then secondly, as you start to move to use that database in the cloud, you'd really like to have a more efficient experience than just running it inside a virtual machine. You don't want to have to manually configure things like high availability. You'd rather not have to manually take care of backups. You want to be able to easily scale up and scale down your databases with zero app downtime. Let's talk about how we're making these things easy with Azure. Last month we announced our new SQL Server 2017 release. SQL Server 2017 is the fastest, most secure, and most intelligent database on the planet, and now provides ultimate flexibility. And we're releasing SQL 2017 simultaneously on Windows Server, on Linux, as well as Docker-based systems. And it really delivers unparalleled performance with our new adaptive query processing engine, making it the fastest release of SQL Server ever. And we're also, with this release, now building in machine learning capabilities and allowing you to do in-memory operations with it. This enables you now to use machine learning models built directly in R and Python and run them inside the database, making your apps more intelligent
não. Vi alguém falando aí que tá vendo entre assistir minha live ou do bus, mas que eu tô vendo que ele não tá fazendo live não. Deve fazer depois.
And what this means is that you can now take advantage of all of that SQL Server functionality everywhere and get the best possible experience when using it as a fully managed experience in the cloud. You can now stand up a new SQL database in Azure within 60 seconds and have it be highly available, durable, secure, and fault tolerant without you having to configure anything. And Azure provides built-in backup and point-in-time restore capabilities, automatic performance tuning support, as well as threat detection capabilities that enable you to run your apps more securely. And best of all, you get all these capabilities without having to manage or spin up any virtual machines, and without having to worry about patching them or tuning any of the infrastructure manually. Our SQL Database as a Service offering takes care of all that for you. This week at Build, we're launching a new Azure data migration service that's going to make it even easier for you to migrate your existing databases to use our Azure SQL Database as a Service offering. This data migration service really streamlines moving existing database systems to Azure and provides a fully automated workflow to do so, both for SQL Server instances as well as for non-Microsoft database platforms as well, including Oracle-based systems. And this new data migration service, combined with additional capabilities that we're releasing this year with SQL Database, it's going to make it truly easy to migrate literally every single SQL Server instance that you have to the cloud without having to make any database changes.
Vai fazer à noite, né? Para ele à noite, faz live à noite.
Your application, and really have a seamless, near-zero downtime migration experience. DocuSign is a great example of one Azure customer taking advantage of this new capability. DocuSign is one of the leading enterprise SaaS providers today and supports more than 200 million users. And they've historically run their transaction processing systems within their own data centers. And we're very honored that today they're announcing that they've chosen Azure as their cloud platform to run their systems on going forward. Here's a video of them talking about this decision.
DocuSign.
Hundreds of millions of people are DocuSign customers every day, transacting their most important business. For so many of our customers, their transactions are personal. We garner our customers' trust every day. Trust is the sort of thing that you earn in a lifetime and lose in an instant.
Software de assinatura digital provavelmente. Eles selecionaram o Azure para seu banco de dados deles.
That we are constantly scaling and evolving. We wanted the best of what we do in our data center, which is reliable SQL servers on flash storage, with the best of what Azure could bring to it, which is globally expanding, rapid deployment, high scale, with the best of what the SQL team could bring to it, which is a deep knowledge of the product and help in managing this thing at scale. And for us, we found that Azure SQL Database was the best way to do it. We deploy our SQL Server schema elements into a managed instance.
Será, cara?
And point the application via connection string change directly over to the managed instance.
We basically picked up our existing build infrastructure and we're able to deploy to Azure within a few seconds. It allows us to scale the business very quickly with very minimal effort.
The holy grail in a move like this
Vai até 3 horas,
lift your existing platform, move it into Azure without significant amounts of work, without having to re-engineer things. And at the other side of that, get the incredible value that Azure brings to the table. Our hope is that Azure becomes the way we do global expansion. We want to help customers all over the world bring their paper processes into the digital world, to allow us to be the accelerant that they need to move faster and faster into this digital transformation.
Ok, software de assinatura digital para transações, coisas do tipo.
And really want to keep using it as they move to the cloud. Some love SQL Server, some love MySQL, some love Postgres. And today we're really excited to bring 2 new database as a service offerings to Azure. One provides MySQL as a service, and the other now provides Postgres as a service. Both of these are fully managed database offerings, just like our SQL database offering today. You can stand up a new MySQL or a Postgres database in Azure now using these in under 60 seconds. They have high availability and security built in, and we automatically patch and update them for you. And unlike other cloud providers, we enable you to elastically scale up or down the performance of these databases with 0 application downtime. And best of all, they're 100% compatible with all existing MySQL and Postgres tools, drivers, and frameworks. And they're available for you to start using today.
Mano, eu quero Termens, eu quero GeoBuffer, quero planos não, mas o outro lá. Esses são os apresentadores fodas que traz coisa bacana. Precisa aparecer.
The different variety of data models that you want to represent inside your application. And above all, in terms of the performance that you need to achieve. And each next generation application really needs a strategy to handle all these different types of scenarios. And today, I'm also really excited to announce Azure Cosmos DB. which is the first globally distributed multi-model database service that delivers turnkey horizontal scale with guaranteed millisecond latency and uptime. And it's designed to explicitly enable these types of next
Quando for
generation
anunciar, vai
apps.
ter evento só para ele.
Imagine a horizontally scalable database that puts data everywhere that your users are. With Cosmos DB, we've built a database service that does just that and can automatically replicate data to any Azure region around the world to give your users lightning-fast performance regardless of wherever they're accessing your application.
Como que instala macOS no PC?
Cosmos DB allows you to choose
Dá
the
trampo,
data
mano.
model
Mas é possível.
best fits your application use case and gives you the flexibility to access it using
Mano,
the
formiga
API of your choice.
atacando
For
Ruffles,
example, you
nunca
could
vi isso.
store data in a key value format or graph
Tocando
or
os salgadinhos
document
mais
data,
salgados que
all
tem.
inside Cosmos DB. Cosmos DB automatically indexes all the data and allows you to use your favorite NoSQL APIs, including DocumentDB.
Ô galera, a Evento Build sempre foi assim, viu? Não precisa ficar reclamando que tá muito chato e tal. Porque normalmente é assim, eles guardam umas coisinhas aí bem legais, mas tipo, no geral bastante coisa técnica. Nos próximos dias vai ser mais ainda. Mas eles vão ter anúncios ainda, fica tranquilo. Tô postando minhas fichas que já vai aparecer mais coisas. Posso quebrar a cara daqui a pouco e não ter nada, mas eu acho que vai ter coisa assim.
And best of all, with Cosmos DB, you pay only for the storage and the performance throughput that you actually use, which enables you to really change the economics of how you store data in the cloud.
Ô, gente, o evento se chama Build. Build é desenvolver, pode ser traduzido como isso. Então, venda para desenvolvedores. Óbvio que vai falar sobre programação.
Cosmos DB, we guarantee single millisecond response time at the 99th percentile.
Logo vai falar mais coisas, mas o foco mesmo é programação, gente.
And what's great is, unlike any other service, you can actually monitor that SLA and that metric directly inside the Azure Management Portal to see how your application is doing and to ensure that it's reaching that point. That enables you to build just amazing solutions, unlike any others out there today. Jet.com is a great customer who's running entirely on Azure today. It's a fantastic example of the type of service that can really take advantage of a global database like Cosmos DB. Here's a video of them talking about Jet.com and how they're using Azure.
Ué, cadê a... Alô? Ué? Pera aí, galera. Oxi. Problemas técnicos. Deixa eu dar um refresh aqui.
Distributed multi-model database service. Now imagine you want to build a planet-scale intelligent app with users worldwide. It has to be super fast, it has to be incredibly elastic, and it has to be highly available all over the world. In this demo, I'll show you how easy it is to do it with Azure Cosmos DB. So we've taken Marvel Universe dataset, which represents a complex network of comic characters, and built a simple web app around it, where fans from all over the world can come to this app interacting with a real human being. For instance, Iron Man, who are your friends? And get back.
Hello,
or I can ask even more question. For instance, who are your enemies that work for Hydra? And get the response back. Now, behind the scenes, the data is stored as a globally distributed graph inside Azure Cosmos DB. And we provide a near real-time response latency to all of the questions that I'm asking that actually get translated into graph queries that get submitted to Cosmos DB. So how do you build such an app? In fact, how do you even create a globally distributed database that spans the entire world? It's very easy. Let me show you how. So you come to Azure Portal, you click New, you go to Databases, then you pick Azure Cosmos DB right here.
Acho que agora deve ter
normalizado. What you normally would specify for any Azure service, ID, subscription, resource group, but what's really interesting here is a new set of APIs that you could choose from. If you want to use SQL, you can pick DocumentDB API. If you want to use Mongo, you can pick MongoDB API. And today we're announcing a public preview of 2 new APIs, Gremlin for Graph and Table API for premium table experience. Select the API, then the location. Now, our data set is already stored inside Cosmos DB, right here in the form of a subgraph. Now, it's just Azure Cosmos DB provides. Now, remember also, Cosmos DB is the first service that gives you horizontal scale out of both storage and throughput. So my graph will be able to accommodate to the very bursty workloads worldwide. And in addition to that, I can answer any of my graph queries worldwide with less than 10 millisecond read latency, guaranteed. Now, the key message here to remember, though, is that regardless of the data model, regardless of the API you're using, regardless of the data distribution or even the failures, we continue providing you with a single system image for all of these globally distributed resources worldwide, so that you developers can concentrate on your application, not on the database behind it.
Acho que agora tá ok,
Now, another unique capability that Azure Cosmos DB provides is a set of 5 well-defined consistency models. Now, this is a fascinating area. When you're building an application with the data that is globally distributed across the world, you're facing a fundamental trade-off.
Tá ok agora, tá fluindo, então acho que não analisou, né?
Perfectly consistent data
Problema de conexão, gente,
across the world to all of your users,
internet,
but at the price of the performance?
né?
Or do you want your application to be incredibly responsive, but at the price of serving sometimes the data that is not up to date? Most of the database systems force you to choose between these 2 extremes, known as strong consistency and eventual consistency. Now, the insight here is that most of the real-world applications and the use cases don't fall in between these into these 2 extremes. So Azure Cosmos DB is the first database in the world that gives you 5 well-defined consistency models, including 3 intermediate consistency levels, including bounded staleness, session, and consistent prefix. So you can go and further optimize this trade-off that your application faces and pick the right trade-off between high availability, performance, and consistency of your data. Finally, the SLAs.
Parece que cansei de mamão também.
Measure of any cloud service is measured by its SLA. After all, it's a service.
Anunciaram isso hoje no Ground 3? Sério?
So, while most of the other cloud services give you the SLAs for high availability, Azure Cosmos DB is the first service in the world that gives you comprehensive SLAs on all of the dimensions that application developers really care about. These include latency, throughput, consistency, and availability at the 99th percentile worldwide. So let's see, what does the application code actually looks like when we interact with Cosmos DB? Our application is a simple Node.js app, and all we had to do was add a Gremlin package, and then I have a very simple function called generate Gremlin query that takes my questions to the superheroes and translates them into corresponding Gremlin queries. Because it's a Gremlin endpoint, any open source Gremlin client will work just as is. So there you have it, Azure Cosmos DB, Microsoft's globally distributed multi-model database service. Because we truly believe that your applications deserve a database that is out of this world. We're very excited to see the type of applications that you're going to build with Cosmos DB. With that, back to you, Scott. Thank you so much.
Cara, pera, agora fiquei curioso. Anunciaram realmente o Smartphones Underground 3?
As Rio mentioned, we're incredibly excited to see the types of apps that you build with Azure Cosmos DB. All the capabilities that we've talked about this morning and that Rima demoed are now available for you to use today. And in fact, the Azure Cosmos DB service is now generally available for you to use in all regions across Azure. And because Cosmos DB is an evolution of our Document DB service, all of our existing Document DB customers have been automatically migrated and upgraded to take advantage of Cosmos DB, meaning you can now take advantage of all these additional capabilities with it, starting immediately. So we talked about data. Let's switch gears now and talk about something else that a lot of developers ask me about, which is how best to modernize your applications as you move them to the cloud. Specifically, a lot of companies and a lot of developers don't want to just lift and shift their apps to the cloud. They also want to take advantage of new technologies, things like containers, microservices, serverless-based computing, to make them cloud native. And to do so without having to gut and rewrite all of their code from scratch, which is something that, hey, we'd all love to do, but we usually don't have always the luxury in order to actually do it. Alaska Airlines is one of the many companies that's in the process of modernizing their systems as they move to the cloud and to make them cloud native. And they're doing that on
pode ser
Azure.
máquina virtual, pode ser Hackintosh. Ah, vazaram de 3 por aí. Depois dou uma olhada nisso.
Alaska Airlines recently merged with Virgin America, and together we became the 5th largest airline in the United States. The e-commerce organization at Alaska Airlines
sure that it's working, run tests, and then package up our Docker images. We upload those Docker images to Azure Container Registry.
I think the biggest win for us recently was last Cyber Monday. It was hassle-free. We could scale up and down without any fear, and we were able to have completely uninterrupted service for our guests. We grow customer loyalty by providing an awesome e-commerce experience. By using Azure, we're able to get ideas out to market faster and to test and see how our guests experience them and see if they move the needle on our business objectives.
So let's talk about how developers like Alaska are doing that. And with Visual Studio 2017, we now have integrated Docker support that delivers a fantastic container-based development experience. You can now easily develop, run, debug, and test container-based solutions directly within the Visual Studio IDE. And our DevOps support with Visual Studio Team Services now makes it easy to stand up a CI/CD environment that can be used to automatically build and deploy any container-based solution. You can, of course, use all this support for what I call greenfield applications or new applications that have been specifically designed with a microservice-based architecture. And these greenfield apps can leverage, for example, the new .NET Core framework that we've released to build very lightweight microservice-based applications that can run on both Windows and Linux-based container systems. You can also leverage, though, all this new container support to also gracefully update your existing applications to be containerized as well. It doesn't require you to completely rewrite all your systems at once. In fact, you can take full existing .NET Framework apps, including ones explicitly written to use IIS, that use WCF and other native Windows components, and now easily containerize them using Docker and run them within Windows Server containers as well. This means you can really start to take advantage of a microservice-based approach in every application and really start to get the agility and benefits that they provide, and then be able to continually tune and update your application with new capabilities after that. What I'd like to do is invite Maria on stage to show off how you can take an existing .NET application and easily modernize it with containers. Here's Maria.
Thank you, Scott.
Cara, tá focando muito em cloud esse
isn't
ano,
this exciting?
cara.
As Scott mentioned, with Visual Studio and Azure, we're making
Meia
it
horinha,
easy
uma horinha
to
no
build
máximo, tava
amazing
ótimo
new
já.
applications
Caraca.
and modernize your existing ones for this cloud-native architecture.
Pô, tem uma hora e meia
Over
já
here,
de
I
live.
have an application that might look like some of the ones that you in the room are running on Windows today. I'm going to show you how you can easily containerize your application in Visual requiring Windows, IIS, and ASP.NET to run. And let's say you want to enable different services into your application. You can do that right here in your Docker file. Look, I've just enabled WCF. Now, since we've containerized our application, let's go ahead to make sure that it's running as we expected. Over here, I have a completely containerized
Bom, foi
version of
de
my
live, tem mais
application.
1h30 aí,
And
né?
I'm going to play around with it, and it's completely running locally on my
Parece
machine.
começar a fazer
And I
coisa
want to
mais
play around
interessante.
with it to see what's going to happen. Okay.
Rafael parece que
It
estiver
looks like we've hit a breakpoint. The first breakpoint I've hit is in my CRM
eletrônicos daqui a
application,
pouco, já.
web application that is in a container on my left. And then when I hit continue, it goes to my web API, which is in a completely different container. Visual Studio now supports cross-container debugging. These are the experiences that you have become used to in Visual Studio, and we're just bringing them over to containers. And now my application is running as expected, so I'm feeling good about
Cara
it,
que
so I'm
ajudou
going to go
o
ahead
Steve a
and put it
fundar a
into
Apple.
production.
Parece o Rafael Woz, não conheço esse cara.
We
Vamos pesquisar
understand that
aqui.
the modern workflow is very focused on being continuous. And that's why now you can right-click on your solution and configure continuous delivery. Continuous delivery enables us to specify the Azure Container Registry we want to
cara,
push
parece não, mano.
our,
Onde
where
que
we want to push
apareceu?
our containers. And we can also specify the type of host
Onde
where
que
we
esse
want
cara
our
apareceu,
containers to
mano?
run. And you have options.
Não
You can use
parece não.
app services, and we also have Kubernetes coming soon. And today, I'm excited to show you Service Fabric. In just a few
das batatas,
clicks,
acabou já o
we have
Eristra.
configured Visual Studio Team Services to manage our build and release pipelines. In our build pipeline, it will compile our code,
Faz Blues do Windows comprou onde eu ganhei, cara. Ganhei na Microsoft mesmo, quando fui no evento do lançamento aqui no Brasil. Tem vídeo aqui no canal, um vídeo bem antigo. Foi o primeiro vlog que eu fiz, ficou bem ruim a qualidade.
And just in
Mas eu
case
ganhei
you
lá.
want to add additional tasks, you can do it right here in VSTS and pick one from the thousands that we have in the marketplace. In our release definition, you'll see in one step how we are telling Service Fabric to take our Docker Compose file and push it to Azure. And I have to say, Azure is the best place to host your containers. Over here, we have our application running in a 5-node
Microsoft,
Service
você pode
Fabric
fazer melhor que isso,
cluster.
vai.
You can
Já fez
see
eventos
how
bem
many
melhores.
applications we have, both new and existing, running in this high-density, highly reliable environment. And because of the dependency isolation that we get with containers, we can make sure that our applications are running comfortably together without interfering with each other. Scott Hanselman earlier
Opa, caiu
showed you
aqui.
how we can begin to get rich telemetry on how our applications are performing. And we're bringing the same experience to containers. You can see how our application is performing at the infrastructure level, to the container level, as well as in the application itself.
A qualidade está ruim,
And with
hein?
the application map, you can see how
diminuir
all
daqui.
our different services
Pra ver se
are
estabiliza.
interconnected together. Visual Studio is the best place to debug and containerize your applications, and Azure is the best place to host them.
Tá
Thank
enviando
you,
bem.
and back to you, Scott.
Galera, transmissão tá indo,
So
a
you saw
internet
how
tá
Maria
conseguindo
was
enviar
able to
coisa,
take
mas
an
o
existing,
YouTube parece tá
full .NET
zoado hoje.
framework application, one written years ago, and able to use Docker to containerize it, then set up a CI/CD build pipeline, and then use it to easily deploy inside Azure.
Daniel, até o momento nada
And
sobre
to
esses
use Service
sistemas.
Fabric to run the containerized
Tudo sobre
application.
nuvem por enquanto.
Service Fabric is an incredibly powerful microservices framework that we provide here at Microsoft that you can use. And we also build most of our services inside Azure on top of it, including Cosmos DB, including our SQL DB offering. And what's great about Service Fabric is it really enables you to take advantage of a microservices-based approach, and now natively supports Docker images, including the Docker Compose framework. This allows you to take the best of the Windows ecosystem and the best of the Linux ecosystem and use it together. And now you can take applications, including ones with existing code that you already have, update them to be a microservice-based
Se eu
architecture,
estivesse vendo sozinho a live, não estaria muito incomodado, mas
maybe
foda é...
or even with other different
Tô
languages
fazendo
or
live, né,
frameworks,
mano?
and
Tem
run
que
them all
entreter você um pouquinho,
seamlessly
mas o que eu vou
inside
falar
a
assim
single
aqui? Pô,
cluster as
essa
part
nuvem
of it.
tá cinza.
And
Vai chover.
I think this is really going to enable you to do some amazing things and build some amazing applications. What's great about Service Fabric is it runs both in Azure as well as on Azure Stack. And you can even stand it up on premises on existing bare metal servers or in VMs, including in other cloud-based environments. This gives you maximum flexibility to modernize your applications and be able to start doing it immediately. So in addition to supporting containers using Service Fabric, we also enable you to build apps using containers in pretty much every Azure compute service now. For example, you can now use containers in Azure Web Apps and our Azure Batch service, which provide very optimized platform as a service offerings for web and scale-out processing scenarios. And with our Azure Container Service, we now enable you to build applications with every popular container orchestration framework out there, including Kubernetes, Mesos, and Docker Swarm-based systems. No other cloud provider gives you as much flexibility as Azure does when it comes to containers, and you can use all these great capabilities today. Now, as you look to modernize your applications and adopt a microservice-based architecture, one of the things that you'll probably want to start taking advantage of is serverless-based computing. A serverless approach allows you to execute code in an event-driven way, which can really help guide you to design your applications to scale better. And serverless computing can also help you save money by enabling you to avoid having to pay for server resources that you might not be fully using.
Tá mostrando muito código hoje. Falaram por aí que eles mudaram esse ano e vão falar mais sistema amanhã, mas eu não tenho nenhuma informação sobre isso, confirmação. Vamos esperar um pouquinho acabar o evento e ver o que acontece depois. Tem bastante repórter lá no evento que vai postar sobre isso. Se amanhã tem lá no Microsoft, só que eu não sei se eu vou fazer transmissão. Eu me programei para fazer só hoje, não sei se vou fazer amanhã não. Se amanhã tiver confirmado, vai ter mais foco em sistema, eu faço, mas eu acredito que não vai ser.
Locally inside your IDE. This makes it incredibly easy to take advantage of serverless-based computing. And we're now the only cloud provider that gives you this type of end-to-end experience where you can develop, run, debug, and test entirely locally on your development machine. We also now have CI/CD support for Azure Functions with both Visual Studio Team Services as well as GitHub-based backends. And our Azure Logic App service enables you not just to execute code, but also to execute now on-demand serverless workflows. And these workflows can use more than 100 built-in data and app connectors that we provide, enabling you to trigger serverless workflows from systems like Dynamics 365, Office 365, Salesforce, Adobe, SAP, and more, and securely process and route data across long-running processes and workflows and business logic. And these workflows can also include Azure Function Apps, and giving you the really robust way that you can now marry both code and declarative workflows together and all run it in a serverless environment. We're really excited today that we're announcing a bunch of updates around serverless that you'll be able to start taking advantage of. This includes the great new Visual Studio 2017 tooling support for both Azure Functions as well as for Azure Logic Apps. And we're also releasing serverless computing support with Azure Application Insights. You saw Maria show off Azure Application Insights as part of containers. You saw Scott Hanselman show it earlier in the context of a web app. The nice thing with Azure Application Insights is you can span all types of apps inside Azure, written in all types of languages, and now have a single view across them. And we know that the lack of monitoring insight into serverless-based apps has been one of the things that developers, both using Azure but also other cloud platforms, have always said is really, really hard to monitor these systems. Now, with this new release today, we're making it incredibly easy for you now to get rich monitoring support across your apps, which is going to make developing and running them even easier. Domino's Pizza is a great customer of ours who's running their systems on Azure today. And they're starting to leverage our Azure serverless functionality together with all the other Azure platform as a service capabilities we provide to really update and modernize their apps. Let's hear their story.
Domino's main customer demographic consume technology on a daily basis. It's part of their life. They have very little tolerance for solutions that don't run well or don't run at all.
Na dela começo e final, final vai embora. Quando ele surgir novo aqui acabou.
We can roll out changes to any region and environment very quickly and also provision new environments much faster Serverless computing will be the next evolution for us from platform as a service.
It's really handy moving our data around. We know what Azure Functions has infinite scale, so we can move as much data as we need.
We are using Azure Functions now in some components of our ordering system where a consumption model makes sense. You don't have to worry about scaling, provisioning. Those things are very easy with Functions. It's easy to deploy, and you don't need to manage any of the underlying infrastructure for it. You don't need configure scaling.
We only pay for that data that we earn. And those
deu like
functions that we do
na
use, did we know that Azure is always going to be at the cutting edge of any cloud technology?
We can put the content closer to customers for a faster ordering experience.
Domino's is a company that never wants to be ordinary. We want to continue to develop and deploy meaningful tech, to continue to grow and expand the business, and we're willing to put our trust into Microsoft.
So we've been talking about some of the incredible capabilities that Azure provides. But I also hear from a lot of developers that there's scenarios where you just can't use the public cloud yet. And it's really that reality that compelled us to build Azure Stack. Azure Stack is an extension of Azure. Azure Stack provides a consistent cloud experience with the same management API, portal, and developer services available inside Azure. And it's a cloud that you can deploy and run literally anywhere. For example, with Azure Stack, you can now use the cloud for edge and disconnected scenarios. Carnival Cruise Lines is one of our early Azure Stack adopters. And Carnival's been using Azure now for several years and runs their fleet management software on Azure and has a large Azure data lake where they take all this data from their ships and perform analytics on top of it. They're big believers in the public cloud. The problem, though, they have is that there's sometimes they can't connect to the internet when their ships are out at sea. When you're in the middle of the Pacific and maybe there's a storm, it's not really good to have to rely on a satellite network link to connect to the internet to run something that's critical on the ship. And what's nice about Azure Stack is it now provides the ability for them to use Azure everywhere, not just when the ship's in port, but now when it's available out at sea. And now they're able to upgrade their onboard systems to be built and managed using Azure Stack and be able to use the same application logic, same set of core Azure services, even when running disconnected, and be able to build even better systems with it. The combination of Azure and Azure Stack also enables you to meet literally every regulatory need now. Azure today has more compliance certifications than any other cloud provider. We also now have 38 unique Azure data center regions around the world. From that perspective, that's more locations and countries than AWS and Google combined. This enables you to meet more data privacy and cloud residency requirements than any other public cloud solution. And yet, we also know that there continues to be scenarios where data and applications must still reside in a country that doesn't yet have a public cloud provider with a data center inside it.
Valeu, programa na casa.
E&Y is one of the largest
Dá
professional
superchat
services firms
também
in the
para dar
world.
aquela forcinha.
They're using Azure to run many of their applications. And being a trusted and secure cloud was the key reason why they chose Azure. The documents and data that E&Y store are amongst the most sensitive pieces of data in the world. The challenge that they've had has been how to use public cloud for all of their clients. There's certain countries in the world where there's legal requirements that company documents are not allowed to leave that country's source. And in some of those cases, there are no public cloud providers currently operating in those countries. And the beauty of Azure Stack is it basically now gives E&Y the ability to write their application once, deploy it both in Azure, and then run it in its own facilities with Azure Stack for those particular countries. And this gives them literally the ability to meet every regulatory requirement in every country in the world with a single code base. Let's hear their story.
There's an explosion in innovation, technology, the digitization of business. Markets can be exploded overnight in a positive way or a negative way. Our clients look to us to help them take advantage of the opportunity that is just blossoming all around the world. Trust is really central to our relationship.
Aí 64 bits no Windows 10 é 9001.
Tax assurance practices are all technology
Como assim
driven.
9001, cara?
Developers are central to delivering that value.
Azure and Azure Stack allows us to have a single point of development.
We develop one solution, and we can run that in public Azure or Azure Stack.
The fact that we're always targeting the same set of services, we can provide the same set of SLAs to our customers. We use the same PowerShell tools that we use today with public Azure in order to stand up all the environments. The combination of virtual machine skill sets and load balancers, we can even spin up service fabric clusters simply striking them. That is something that puts developers in the driver's seat.
Azure Stack gives us the ability to put Azure in countries where Microsoft does not have
então queria falar, não sei se você assiste em Loop Infinito, que é um canal focado em Mac. Eles falam de Windows e Android também, mas o foco deles principal é Mac. Eles estão bem decepcionados com a Apple também ultimamente. Por trazer pouca inovação, não a mesma Apple que tinha antes, sabe? Trazer inovação pra caramba.
Our charge is to make sure that the technology we build and deliver serves our clients and preserves the trust that they are putting in us to do the work.
And Azure Stack enables you to also begin modernizing your on-premises applications even before you move them to a public cloud environment. What we'd like to do to show off kind of how to use Azure Stack
Cara,
to build applications and what the
chega.
experience is like is invite Julia White on stage to give it a demo.
Isso, traz mais gente, mas não troca de assunto.
Now let's take a look at Azure and Azure Stack working together
meu
to
Deus.
address that disconnected and edge scenario that Scott talked about. Now in this case, it's a shipping company, Northwind Traders,
tô com fé.
and they're using Azure for their global
Até o final do
operating
evento,
system,
pelo
and
menos
they're
a
using
última hora do
Azure
evento vai ter
Stack
coisa
for the
boa.
app that's running locally on the
Tô
ship.
com fé. Eu
Now
só
here
queria
is
que a
the global
esperança
operations
do
system
time que
running in
morre.
Azure, but monitoring the ship across the globe. Now I'm going to switch over to the Azure portal to see how this app was built. And you can see here in Azure, they're using a number of different services.
Até o seu Sérgio dessas
In this
pessoas
case,
conhecem o
Event
Sérgio, né?
Hub to
Seu
process and
Sérgio.
receive
Eu encontrei ele
millions of
pessoalmente no evento da
transactions coming
Microsoft.
off of each of those ships.
Ele é mó baixinho,
I'm
mano.
also they're also using this web app service to do the live monitoring of the ships all over the sea. Now, this is the global operations system. Let me switch over to Azure Stack and talk about the system running on the ship locally. So I'm switching over here to Azure Stack, and you notice that. Let me zoom in so you can see that, Azure Stack. Well, you'll notice that the experience is entirely consistent, and that's the point. Azure Stack is an extension of Azure. The portal, the APIs, they're all consistent. This means you can leverage the same investments in people skills, in processes, and the application across Azure and Azure Stack. Now, Azure Stack has both IaaS as well as platform-based services, so I can use those same services in Azure in that global system as well as what's being used here local on the ship system. So you see here I have that same web app service that I'm using in Azure Stack that I was also using in Azure in that global system. Now again, this is a disconnected and edge scenario, and so while at sea, sometimes bandwidth can be limited or super expensive. So it's a perfect scenario for serverless compute with Azure Functions. See here I'm using Azure Functions to actually parse data real time on the ship to decide what stays local and what goes up to my global operating system and when it goes as well. And I can even go in and I can monitor all the events hitting my serverless compute system here right from my Azure Stack system, just like I would from Azure. Again, that same serverless computing experience. So let me flip over to Visual Studio and look at how this hybrid application was built. And again, because the APIs are consistent across Azure and Azure Stack, I have the same developer experience as well. You see here in Visual Studio, I have that global system running as here, and then I also have that local system that's running on the ship, and there, in fact, is those function service that I talked about, parsing the ship data. Now, I can update my app here, maybe add a new feature, perhaps, and then go ahead and deploy it directly to Azure or Azure Stack. I can even integrate it with my CI/CD pipeline to do an automated deployment and test targeting both Azure and Azure Stack. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and manually just kick off this deployment. Go over to my application here. Deploy. Now, thanks to Azure Active Directory, it actually pulls my subscriptions across Azure as well as Azure Stack. So I've opened that up. Zoom in, and you can see there, in fact, are my Azure subscriptions as well as my Azure Stack subscription running that app locally on the ship. So go ahead and deploy that out to Azure Stack. Now, I just, right here in Visual Studio, pushed that app out to my Azure Stack deployment running on the ship. Azure Stack is truly an extension of Azure, enabling you to design, to develop, and operate your applications wherever your customers and your business needs. Thanks so much.
Temos a Microsoft Azure de forma gratuita, que eu saiba não, que é o maior ganha-pão na Microsoft.
So you saw from Julia there in terms of how easy it is to build Azure Stack-based systems. and that consistency that it gives you with the public cloud. Now, Azure Stack is just one part of our overall, though, hybrid cloud consistency story. With Azure, your hybrid cloud runs both, really is one holistic system. It can span identity, data, application platform, and infrastructure. This really takes the complexity out of running a hybrid cloud and really enables you to start taking advantage of cloud immediately, again, for pretty much every scenario. So we've talked a lot about technology this morning. Let's switch gears now and talk about how Azure helps grow your business. Now, I know a lot of software companies attending Build this week are delivering their software now as a service or looking to do so soon. And many great companies here are already running their solutions already on Azure. And this slide here just highlights a small sampling of some of the SaaS providers running on Azure, really across a wide range of different industries and verticals. Now, last year, Adobe chose Azure as the preferred cloud partner to deliver their SaaS-based offerings now going forward. And I'm really honored to have Abe, the CTO of Adobe, join me on stage to talk a little bit about their experience and what drove this decision. Please welcome Abe.
Hey, thank you, Scott.
Deus, quero ter Menso, quero Joy Belfort, planos, planos não é pra porque ele fala mais de hardware, mas quero...
we have between Adobe and Microsoft.
It's great to have you here. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about Adobe and the enterprise SaaS solutions that you're delivering?
I think probably most people in this room probably still think of Adobe as the Photoshop and PDF company. But over the last few years, we have been on a really exciting transformation of our business and have become in the process one of the leading enterprise SaaS companies, with a very common and shared vision with Microsoft of a cloud-first, mobile-first world powered by intelligence and content and data. With our SaaS solutions, we are completely reimagining the entire creative process, future of documents, and perhaps most importantly, working closely with Microsoft, we are driving a very ambitious agenda to reimagine what the modern enterprise experience looks like with content, data, and intelligence at its core.
That's pretty awesome. So, the Adobe clouds are really focused on content and data, as you mentioned, at the core. Can you talk about the solutions and some of the unique things that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, I mean, for us, really at the heart of our product strategy and a business strategy is this notion that blending the art of content with science of data, and doing so at massive cloud scale with a real focus on the real-time intelligence. You heard a lot about that this morning, and we share a lot of the same vision. Whether it's hundreds of millions of images and photos and videos that process through Creative Cloud, or billions of documents and PDF files that flow through Document Cloud, and frankly, in our Experience Cloud, which is our enterprise-focused offering, today, globally, we are measuring something on the order of 90+ trillion analytic transactions for some of the biggest companies on the planet. Now, when you think about these services at this scale, it requires a platform that's engineered from the ground up for massive scale, rich portfolio of services, and an integrated tools ecosystem. For me personally, as CTO of Adobe, one of the biggest reasons I'm excited about our deep bet on Azure is it gives us a platform for innovation unlike any other. So specifically, as Scott and team have been working with us, we are building a lot of these next generation solutions with deep bet on Azure capabilities like Azure Data Lake, Data Factory, the work we are doing with common data models, and even all the way to rich integration with visualization capabilities like Microsoft Power BI.
Nada da Bíblia sempre é para o público. Mas coisas interessantes normalmente é no primeiro dia, seria hoje. Mas até agora nada. Estamos esperando aí. Vamos ver se até o final do evento tem mais chover.
These partnerships with press releases and marketing releases. This partnership is very different for us.
Mais uma hora de evento, mais ou menos?
First, it's actually a real deep engineering level partnership. The amount of work that goes on between Redmond and San Jose between the teams is just unbelievable. Over the last 6 months, we have already delivered 3 core joint solutions working with Microsoft Teams. First, Adobe Campaign Orchestration is now integrated with Dynamics CRM. Second, some of the biggest brands on the planet can now use Adobe's content management product, Experience Manager, natively on Azure. And last but not the least, Adobe Analytics, which is our enterprise analytics offering, is now fully integrated with Power BI. Now, as we look at customers and see their interest in these solutions, the other thing I hear loud and clear from some of the biggest enterprise customers is their extreme focus on global scale and availability, focus on security, trust, privacy, as well as increasing demands around data sovereignty, privacy, and compliance. So for us, frankly, at Adobe, beyond just feature function and checklist of which services, this is actually one of the unique things about Azure that gives us a major competitive advantage when we talk to enterprise customers in mission-critical environments. And then for me personally, last but not least, as I look to the future and even announcements this morning, the collaboration with Microsoft that I'm excited about is the work we're starting to do in connecting our intelligence capabilities across solutions and really power new experiences with intelligence at their core.
That's awesome. So, as one of the world's largest software vendors, can you talk a little bit about the work that we're also doing across the broader ecosystem and some of the benefits that developers can expect?
Yeah, I mean, for us, when we thought about our needs as a company and one of the large SaaS ISVs, going beyond
Rubens, valeu pela doação, cara. Muito obrigado mesmo.
Frankly, for us, Microsoft partnership was also strategic because of the broad developer ecosystem reach and increasingly the millions and hundreds of millions of end users in the Office ecosystem that we can reach through our SaaS solutions. Now, the second part of this is for our own business, we wanted a solution that lets us reach out to all of you as developers and ISVs and partners, and Microsoft gives us that extensibility play in a very credible way. So the work we are starting to do with your teams around defining common data models and a common industry taxonomy for the modern enterprise is really exciting and frankly unlocks a whole new vista of kind of opportunities, capabilities for developers in this room to innovate jointly on these platforms.
That's awesome. Well, so what's next and what's coming now?
I think for us,
então, para na casa eles estão postando matéria, tem matéria lá, mas tipo nada interessante.
This is an exciting time where
each of you can
really reimagine and deliver completely new radical experiences and deliver those to your customers. For us at Adobe, this really meant taking a long view and choosing a cloud platform that goes well beyond just a commodity compute and storage and price points. For us, a cloud platform of the future has to not only be best in class for developers, it has to pass that litmus test, but it really has to also solve mission-critical enterprise needs of global customers, and frankly, go all the way up to innovation for the business users. So when we looked at Azure and more broadly the Microsoft ecosystem, for us, that was a very clear strategic choice, and frankly, some of the joint customer dialogues that are going on probably tell me that we are off to a really good start. And so for me, I'm super excited about this partnership in terms of what it means today and the kind of work we can do together going forward in future. So thanks for the partnership.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here, Bill.
Thanks, guys.
Cara, eu adoro Adobe, mas gosto do produto, né? Quero ver Photoshop, Premiere.
As Abe mentioned, SaaS companies love Azure, not just because of the core cloud and data platform capabilities it provides. Not just because of the trust, compliance, security, and enterprise needs that it meets. They also like it because it really provides this opportunity to take their SaaS solution and offer it to enterprise business users that are already using the Microsoft Cloud and enable them deeply integrate it in ways that makes their own solution even more compelling. One of the data points we shared recently in our most recent financial earnings call is that we now have 100 million monthly active enterprise users using Office 365. And Azure provides the easiest way for you to integrate with Office 365, reach those 100 million users, and grow your business. Every Office 365 customer uses Azure Active Directory as their identity system. And using Azure Active Directory, we've made it incredibly easy for you to securely integrate your SaaS apps into both the rich Office 365 app experiences as well as the online experiences as well. We've also integrated many of our Microsoft apps and experiences to use the Microsoft Graph. We heard Satya talk and do some demos of that earlier, and you'll see more throughout the conference. And this Microsoft Graph is all built on top of Azure Active Directory. And it provides a REST-based API that developers can use to securely integrate data and functionality across Office 365, Dynamics 365, Azure, and Windows. And in addition to enabling your SaaS apps to be integrated into the Office 365 ones, we're also making it easy for the Office 365 apps, things like Power BI and Power Apps and Flow, to securely integrate with your SaaS apps and enable rich integration scenarios to make your SaaS apps and SaaS data even more valuable to enterprise customers. And with our new Azure App Source Marketplace, we make it incredibly easy for all of our Office 365 and Dynamics 365 enterprise users to be able to find and discover your applications and try them out. With just a few clicks, an end user can securely integrate and try out your SaaS app together with all the existing solutions that they've already deployed in the Microsoft Cloud. And when one of our enterprise customers tries out the SaaS application using AppSource, one of the nice things we do is actually automatically push a lead through an API into your CRM system, regardless of whether it's a Dynamics or even a Salesforce
pouco melhor do que a Microsoft, porque tá difícil.
Directly with that customer and try to close that business.
Showing.
It's a great way to kind of accelerate your go-to-market in a tremendous way, and enable Microsoft to deliver to you potentially thousands of super high-quality leads of enterprise users to every single month for your SaaS capability. And for SaaS vendors who run their systems on Azure and qualify for our co-sell program, we're even now going one step further.
Mais superchat de jogo, cara, valeu pela
contribuição aí também. The Microsoft salesperson that manages that particular enterprise account. And we'll even now pay the Microsoft salesperson every time you close a SaaS deal with one of their customers. So they're incredibly incented to help you every step of the way with those conversations with those enterprise users. Now, the opportunity for all of us to build applications that can change the world has really never been greater.
Cara, tá mais que
Each of
lindo,
you now has access to cloud resources that were unimaginable just a few years ago. And I say this every year, but it's always true. It's never been a better time to be a developer. And all of us at Microsoft are really looking forward to seeing what you build. What I want to do now is hand it over to Eric, who's going to basically walk you through now how you can take advantage of AI in even richer ways and infuse it through all your apps to make them even smarter. Thanks a bunch and have a great build.
Acabou! Foi embora esse cara finalmente. Outro desconhecido.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
Podia ser o Termence,
Thank you for listening to Satya, Scott, and now me. Let me begin my talk by taking you back to the start of the day. Satya talked about this new app pattern, this new worldview of the intelligent edge and the intelligent cloud. Central to this is artificial intelligence.
Tá, vai dar resuminho
do
que falaram até agora.
Talk to you about now. I have been in the field of AI for a long time. It's amazing to see AI now becoming more a reality.
Vai falar sobre inteligência
I
artificial.
hope many of you by now know Microsoft Cognitive Services.
Tá, provavelmente teremos coisas sobre Cortana agora. Vamos ver se agora começa a animar as
coisas. Were in that small breakout room 2 years ago when we launched Cognitive Services with only 4 APIs.
Japonês.
Maybe some of you were in that big breakout room last year when we launched with 22 APIs. And this year, apparently, I have been promoted by Satya to the main stage. But seriously, the time for AI is now. At Microsoft, we believe AI is about amplifying human ingenuity.
Microsoft,
this is our vision for AI at Microsoft.
A criatividade humana.
You may ask, why now? Well, there are 3 big forces converging that are making AI possible. The first, big compute, especially how you can take advantage of
Três grandes forças convergem uma inteligência artificial possível. Primeiro, grandes computadores,
powerful algorithms,
algoritmos
with
poderosos,
amazing progress in deep learning and deep reinforcement learning. Number 3, massive amount of data that
datas
fuels
em massa,
powerful AI applications.
muita quantidade de dados.
Microsoft is in a very, very unique position to help you take advantage of these forces.
Ou vai falar de Cortana ou vai falar de bots.
And the unique assets we provide for you. First, the Microsoft Cloud. You have heard all about the power of the cloud at a global scale.
Sim, a gente ouviu tudo sobre o poder novo da Microsoft. Não precisa falar mais nada, cara. Já ouvimos tudo.
Second, we provide breakthrough AI algorithms coming from Microsoft Research. Microsoft Cloud plus AI brings all this innovation to you as a developer. And the third, what about the data? To have great AI, you need great data. In particular, Microsoft Graph gives you access to the most important data for your business. That's your work data. All in a trusted platform where you own your data and you have full control of it. Let me tell you about some of the innovations we have been driving. Let me start with my own area of computer vision.
Só adendo aqui para vocês, galera. Eles anunciaram que o Microsoft Azure Mobile, aquele aplicativo de desenvolvimento que eles anunciaram para o Android Pro S, vai vir para o Windows 10 Mobile também. Então, isso é a notícia oficial aqui.
We created a new approach to recognize images with a very deep neural network architecture called ResNet. With 152 layers. We won the first place in all
Gustavo
the three
Marchiori,
categories.
obrigado pela doação também, cara.
In ImageNet
Show de
competition.
bola. Forte abraço para você.
I'm sure many of you in the audience
Galera, uma coisa,
now use
tô vendo
ResNet
aqui, não sei se vocês
to
estão
train
sabendo
your
disso.
deep neural
Mas
nets
primeiro vocês
for
colocam a
your
mensagem,
applications.
digita a mensagem, depois coloca o superchat,
We're
daí fica
also
destaque,
making great
tá?
progress in speech.
Tô vendo o pessoal não dá
6
mensagem
months
nenhuma,
ago,
não sei se foi
we
opcional
became the
vocês ou
first
não.
to reach
Mas se
human
quiser pôr uma
parity
mensagem, ele fica aparecendo
in
mais
speech
tempo na tela.
recognition
Tá?
with the famous switchboard dataset that is a collection of phone call data. And we beat the human error rate 5.9%, and we continue to improve. While the research is inspiring, what's more exciting to me is what you can do with these exciting technologies. Microsoft is a platform company. Developers will always be at the heart of everything we do. Let me show you how we are bringing AI to every developer. A great example is cognitive services that I have been working on. Since we launched 2 years ago, more than 500,000 developers have been using our services. Thank you. Cognitive services provides the broadest and the deepest set of developer services for AI in the industry. Today, we are releasing additional services, taking us to a total of 29 APIs across vision, speech, language, search, and knowledge. This includes the new video indexer service. It actually combines a lot of features from speech to face to vision to semantic understanding. And we are opening our cognitive services labs for you as well, so you can try a lot of new preview services. We'll start with some fun hand gesture recognition. Since we launched the cognitive services, we have been talking to many of you developers, understanding what you like and what you want. Our big learning is that you really like customization. For example, Luis, our custom language understanding tool. And today, I'm very excited to announce deeper customization across our services. So this set of services can custom train for your scenarios while still using REST APIs without the needs of designing very complex models. So this will make it so much easier for you to develop your own AI applications. Let's take a look at how an indie game developer, Human Interact, is applying these custom services. Let's roll the video.
Jogos indie. com a interação
How
humana.
often are you alive when the dawn of a new medium comes out? Starship Commander is a choose-your-own-adventure VR narrative that uses natural language processing, so you can actually have a real conversation with the characters.
What's my mission?
It must be something pretty important.
We're a science fiction game.
Inteligência artificial em jogos. Você pode conversar com personagens
could let us put in custom words.
em realidade virtual.
We started using Microsoft Cognitive Services to power the backend. Once we plugged custom speech service into Starship Commander, I had tears in my eyes when I was playing it because it's like, oh my god, this is it. This is the experience we want.
Open the hatch.
You can essentially put your script in there and it knows, oh, these are the ways that people are going to talk. And these are the phrases that they're going to say. And then the second thing was the intent detection. With Lewis, you basically give it a couple statements. You crunch it, you start typing in your own statements, and it's shockingly scary how good it picks up even stuff that you didn't put in there. There's a wide open playing field. No one's written the rules yet. I've never seen an opportunity like this.
Eu quero jogar isso aí, mano.
Wow. Isn't that fantastic? I couldn't even understand some of those names and terms in the video game, but cognitive services can. So our advancements with speech and language are enabling an important concept I call the conversational AI. To me, that's the most exciting thing about AI now. It builds on what Satya talked about last year at the Build. Conversation as a platform.
Conversacional.
The next user interface paradigm shift.
Você pode conversar com ela, mas
just like many years ago, when we moved from command line to graphics user interface, we made it easier for people to interact with computers. But we still had to learn a lot about the computers, even with GUI. With conversational AI, we move from a world where we have had to learn about the computers to a new world where computers understand humans and AI speaks human.
Ok, falou que no começo eles criaram a programação visual para facilitar a interação com o computador, mas nisso precisava que as pessoas aprendessem sobre o computador para mexer com ele. Agora estamos movendo para uma área, uma era onde os computadores vão aprender sobre a gente para interagir com a gente.
Harry spoke earlier about customization, and he showed you Lewis, custom speech service, and he also mentioned custom vision service. Together, these three services make it really easy for you to build your own custom AI models across speech understanding, language and text, and now image understanding. And they're really easy to use.
Parece a namorada da Deadpool, né? Do filme.
One, bring your own training data, usually a dozen of samples for training. 2, click a button to actually train your model within minutes. And 3, you get your model automatically hosted behind the REST API that you can bake within your apps. Today, I will spend some more time introducing Custom Vision Service, which is our new cognitive service now available on Azure. What it does is it allows you to build your own image recognition systems, and it's pretty flexible. It can work across identifying retail objects, to food, to even landmarks. And to show you how it works, I actually have this little app today that I'm going to show you. And what it does is it takes a picture of a plant or of a leaf, and it tries to identify what it is. And yes, we went outside and plucked a rhododendron. All right, so it identifies that it is a rhododendron from that one picture that I gave it. And the cool thing about this is that I didn't have to use any deep learning frameworks. I didn't have to find thousands of training images, and I didn't have to wait for hours for my model to train. It was actually pretty easy to do because of Custom Vision Service. And all I had to do is really upload a few dozen images to a photo album, which is what I have here, and you can see all of the plants that I've trained it over. Then I clicked on this big green button, and within minutes, I got my own endpoint hosted that I used in the app that I showed you earlier. You can follow these same steps to build your own model.
Ficou meio pixelado, mas se eu aumentar a qualidade, estou com medo da live cair.
How do you actually keep it learning? How do you keep it improving over time as your app sees more and more images from your users?
Well, we got you covered with this thing we call active learning. And what active learning does is it looks at all of the images that may flood your app, and it smartly selects only those that will add the most gain to your classifier. So what it tells you is, say we pick this image here. It's actually an image of a tea camellia, but it only has about 52% confidence that you got it right, which is not very high. So it surfaces it to you. You can go and reinforce that, yes, it is a tea camellia, save, retrain, and then you get your model smarter.
Tá, basicamente está treinando o reconhecimento de imagens na inteligência artificial dela.
It's available today, so go and try it out at customvision.ai. Take it for a spin. We can wait to see what you guys build with this guy. All right. Customization is one of the ways in which we are improving cognitive services. Another way is by allowing you to use our state-of-the-art machine learned models in a highly parallelized fashion. So what that means is if you have, say, petabytes and petabytes of images, you can actually use our text understanding or image understanding models to get those images all analyzed. And if you're familiar with SQL, then you can understand these 20 lines or so of USQL code that I'm showing you here. And what this code does, it uses our landmark understanding model across a load of images that I uploaded in Azure Data Lake, and it's able to find all the ones that contain Mount Fuji in it. Because of Azure Data Lake, it runs within minutes, finishes executing, and then you get your whole images analyzed. Now, we ship these tools and services because we want to ensure that you can bake AI wherever you need it, whether it's a little consumer app like what I showed you earlier with my leaf classifier, or whether it's a massive data pipeline in Azure Data Lake. But that's not where we stop. We want to ensure that you can reach your users wherever they may be, whatever channels they may use. That's why we talk a lot and we spend a lot of time focusing on conversations. And that's why we shipped Bot Framework last year with 9 channels. This year, in Bot Framework, we're introducing 3 additional channels where you can reach your users. Cortana Skills, Skype for Business, and Bing. And with Bing, we want to ensure that bot integration and bot discovery are as seamless as possible. And what I'm showing you here is an experience that's live today. You can go try it out. For those from out of town, I highly recommend this restaurant. So if you want to know if this restaurant has veggie dishes, so let's ask it. You just ask that question in line. You don't have to dig through apps or dig through web pages to find out if there are any vegetarian dishes. It's as easy as that. Now, we have now 12 total channels in Bot Framework, and your users may use a bunch of those, or they may use a lot more other apps or platforms or operating systems. So it's a lot of UX code for you to think of, and we don't want you to have to rewrite it over and over again to have it handled natively in your apps. Now, that's why today we're introducing Adaptive Cards, which is a new open framework. It's already available on GitHub, so you can go try it out. What Adaptive Cards does is it allows you to build your JSON once, write code once, and then have it displayed over these multiple apps, platforms, or operating systems.
Uma bem completa, tá? Muita informação
para uma notificação. How it works. This is a sample JSON that I have here, and it uses basic building blocks like text blocks or images or buttons. And then the framework is the one that allows me to display it natively in things like Microsoft Teams. This is how the same JSON would look like on Skype. And this is that same JSON, say, on Slack via Bot Framework. This is Adaptive Cards, also available for you to use today and take it for a spin. Now, these are all the demos that I've been able to fit today, and there's a lot more that I didn't get to show you, which is why I highly encourage you to go to our sessions later today, or to check more information out on Microsoft.com/AI. We can't wait to see how you guys infuse AI into your apps. And
Mais uma hora, agora é a hora, gente, vai. Tem que ser agora, se não for agora... Porque por onde ter meia hora de alguma coisa, mais meia hora de site na dela agradecendo.
Adaptive Cards is just the beginning of how we are bringing cross-platform experience together. Tomorrow you will hear from Terry Myers and more
ele falou de Adaptive Cards, eu perdi isso, isso é importante.
All of this AI capability is now available today on Azure.com. In addition to new cognitive services, we are also releasing updates to the bot framework, such as adaptive cards you have seen, and new controls and the channels for the analytics and the payments. We're also releasing a new service in Azure to train your deep neural nets efficiently. And it supports all your favorites, deep learning framework, whether you like a cognitive toolkit, or TensorFlow, or Caffe, or others. So I hope you have seen how Azure plus AI provides a comprehensive platform with everything you need to infuse AI into your applications. We give you a powerful data platform with integrated AI like we have seen in the demo using Azure Data Lake. We give you great computing infrastructure AI applications. Let's see a real example from a partner, AirDoc. They have been using AI and Azure to improve healthcare. Let's roll the video.
In China, there are 100 million people with diabetes. Diabetic retinopathy, or DR, is one of the most common complications of diabetes. Patients will go blind without proper treatment.
AirDoc DR is very useful and very easy to use. Just upload the photos and it will give the diagnosis.
We leverage our deep learning technologies on Azure with a set of open source tools like Linux and Python. Training deep learning models in Azure is very easy.
With support of distributed training feature in cognitive toolkits, we can shorten the training time so we can iterate our algorithm quickly.
Azure provides N24 server, which is GPU server we use a lot. Azure commercially availability ensures our data security as well as our mission-critical service level to our customers. Every day is a great day because we are saving people's lives.
It's really great to see how...
Calma, filho. Deixa o pessoal fazer primeiro.
Yeah, it's really great to see how developers around the world are using AI to improve our world. At home, we are also using AI to redefine Microsoft. From Windows to Xbox, from Bing to Office, every product in Microsoft is being transformed with AI. Let me use an example of PowerPoint. And let me invite Ina on stage to show you how PowerPoint is using cognitive services to create a new experience.
PowerPoint
Thank you, Harry.
Com serviço de reconhecimento.
Hello, Build. I'm a proud engineer in the Office team, and artificial intelligence is pervasive in Microsoft Office. You can see it with Researcher and Editor in Word, or maybe Clutter and Focus Inbox in Outlook. In Excel, in fact, Scriptlab and Dynamic Mapping. And how about Designer and Quick Starter in PowerPoint? These are all great examples of infusing AI into the experience. And today, I'm going to show you how PowerPoint and AI can help us reach new audiences. I am pleased to announce and show for the first time the Presentation Translator add-in for PowerPoint. It uses the same custom speech and translation services that Harry just mentioned and that you can use as a developer. Let me show you. When I launch it, a dialog will allow me to select my language, Spanish, and the language I want to display the subtitles, English. Notice there are more than 60 languages supported. Before the presentation starts,
Translator
a few
integrado
slides will be added to help attendees get transcriptions on their own device and language. Harry, please join us an attendee on this iPhone's Translator app.
All right.
You will be asked to provide your name and the language you want to use.
So I look at the barcode. OK, great. So
attendees can also use this in the same language to help meet accessibility needs.
Olha o cantinho superior esquerdo do...
OK, Harry.
Cadê? Olha esse cantinho do PowerPoint quando abrir de novo. Tem um botão de auto-salvar ali. Que eu não me lembro de ter na versão normal.
Now,
Depois eu abro,
I'm
que eu não vou abrir agora
my
não, só
site to demonstrate the real-time translation capabilities between the presentation and the attendee devices. I want you to take a look at the translations at the bottom of the slides.
Acho que não vai aparecer
La
mais.
inteligencia artificial puede eliminar las barreras lingüísticas entre los presentadores y los asistentes. Lo que estás viendo es real y una gran demostración de la inteligencia artificial.
Wow, I can even read here in Chinese.
Legal.
The PowerPoint translator adding custom trains the model based on
Tradução
my
temporal
voice
para o
and my
PowerPoint.
slides, using the power of the custom speech service. And we're also making audience participation easier. The PowerPoint translator add-in is bidirectional, and I can use it to unmute the audience and let them some questions and comments into the presentation. Harry, do you want to say something on your end in Mandarin?
Well, I have to try my rusty Chinese. Okay. 人工智能太棒了。
Let's try again.
Oops, falhou.
人工智能太棒了。Let me try again.
Let's do that.
人工智能太棒了。
There you go. How is that for an impressive demonstration of bringing Office to life with AI?
Tá aí a tradução.
There
Não,
it is.
não mostraram a tradução. Não mostraram a tradução.
Great. Thank
To
you.
learn more, visit aka.ms/PowerPoint translator. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Ina. This is great. You should really try the translator demo and this app. It's really fascinating. You know, you can, we support a 9 spoken
Queria
language
PowerPoint
in the
3D.
60
Cara, já suporta. O
languages
PowerPoint
in
suporta
text.
em 3D agora.
Another key product being infused with AI is Cortana.
Cortana
Satya
aí,
talked
vamos lá.
already earlier
Começando,
about what we are
começando a
trying to
empolgar.
achieve with Cortana. We want Cortana to be your personal
Cortana.
intelligent
Cortana.
assistant that goes wherever you go, at work, at home, at the gym, and on the go. Cortana continues to expand
Cortana.
its reach across platforms
Muito
and
engraçado esse sotaque
devices.
do...
In addition to our partnership with Harman Kardon, today we are excited to announce that 2 new partners, Intel and HP, have signed
HP.
on to help develop Cortana-enabled devices. As developers, you will now have the power to build Cortana skills using the Skill Kit, which utilizes Microsoft Bot Framework. I cannot wait to see the skills you will build for more than 100 million Cortana users. Finally, let me talk about the data. Data is the magic that enables AI. Microsoft offers you an unmatched data graph, including work knowledge from Office 365, Dynamics, and even your devices, and the world knowledge in Bing and LinkedIn. When you combine that Microsoft data graph with your own business data and your understanding about your users, you are finally ready to build incredible AI applications. Let's take a look at how this comes together with one of our partners, Tact. Tact is a company on a mission to make enterprise software more human-friendly by transforming the daily sales experience. Let me welcome Ina to come on to the stage again to show you what they do. Ina.
Thank you, Harry.
Okay. Voltou?
Artificial
Vai,
intelligence
volta.
is
Fica
more
no palco
powerful
já, poxa.
when it is applied to valuable data through the Microsoft Graph, which I have been working on. Let's take a look at how Tact is elevating their solution with Microsoft and how easy it is for developers. Here, I'm going to show you how Tact, who offers a smart assistant for CRM that helps users interact with line of business applications in a more natural way. In the video, you saw how Tact is adding Cortana support into their solution. They're also working to building conversational AI on top of the bot framework to help connect with Dynamics, Bing, LinkedIn, and Office 365. Let me show you. Here, Tact has used the Bing Knowledge Graph to identify an account alert and send a proactive message to my account team. Because Tact is connected to Office 365, it can leverage the Microsoft Graph to find for information about any previous interactions with this new executive. The Microsoft Graph provides a single API endpoint for accessing the data and intelligence in the Microsoft Cloud. And it looks like we've done business with her before, because TACT, through the Microsoft Graph, found 10 references to her across conversations, files, notes, and meetings. TACT even performed sentiment analysis on these sources using the power of the text analytics service with the data that it gets from the graph, and giving me
Jack,
back a nice indication of the previous interactions with her.
Muito bonito.
Just imagine the possibilities. Now, let's try to find her on LinkedIn. Behind the scenes, TACT will query LinkedIn for people that match my request and give me the ability to see their profiles and connect with them. I'm going to ask TACT to send a connection with the right person. TACT is also deeply integrating with Dynamics 365 and has automatically created a lead for this new executive. The confirmation includes a deep link that I can use without leaving Microsoft Teams. TACT does this by creating a custom tab that aggregates all the valuable data about this account. TACT can also use the Microsoft Graph to add a reminder to my calendar. I'll select top collaborators, and the Microsoft Graph will use intelligence to find the people that I collaborate with the most in this particular deal. If we take a look at my calendar, you can see I'm pretty busy.
Tá, basicamente está falando da integração com o Office 365, com o inteligência artificial, com o Microsoft Teams, com o calendário. Esse calendário aí não é o calendário do Home, não, né? Não.
It's gonna take a second.
Tic-tac, 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 tic-tac. Aí. Tic-tac.
There it goes. TACT and the Microsoft Graph updated my calendar in real time. You can see the red one right there. Now let's take a look at some code.
Pelo menos mostra que foi realmente ao vivo aqui, né? Que essas coisas que o pessoal posta ali já cai na hora no site, então eu acho tão absurdo, cara. Ali dá pra ver que foi bem realista, pelo menos. Cara, chat, perdeu o que até agora? Ô, Nil, você perdeu nuvem, cloud, Microsoft Azure, nuvem, Katana e nuvem. Só. Perdeu nada interessante até agora. Estão focando muito em cloud hoje.
Also, you will notice a token in the header. This is how Azure Active Directory secures your data in the Microsoft Cloud.
Teve quase nada interessante,
the response is simple JSON of the matching conversations that I can pass into the text analytics service. That call is also very simple. All I do is pass in the JSON data and get back the sentiment score. This is how easy it is to integrate AI with a vast amount of data in Office 365. To learn more about integrating with Office 365 through the Microsoft Graph, join me this afternoon in the Microsoft Graph breakout session and visit graph.microsoft.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Ina.
Fica lá,
I'm very excited about what TACT is doing. They really demonstrate everything about the data that I have been talking about, and it shows how AI can truly transform your business.
Parece que o Windows Center não vai postar nada. Eles estão postando, cara. Tô vendo aqui algumas matérias.
Every single business app.
Eles falaram que o Azure Mobile vai chegar no Windows 10, falaram que cortando skill.
Retail, or healthcare. Or horizontal
falaram do
business
sistema de
process,
reconhecimento
like sales,
cognitivo ali, que eles falaram há pouco tempo.
Customer support. Our goal as a company is to help you embrace AI and apply
tem umas matérias no
to your
Windows
business.
Central, sim.
I love this quote from Alan Kay, as I truly believe that the best way to invent the future is, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. Go to Microsoft.com/AI and get started. I'd like to close my presentation
Ô, Gustavo,
with a video
vai.
that I think
Não é porque
demonstrates
você fez
the
doação, não, que eu não vou te
transformative
xingar de volta, mano.
of Microsoft AI
Folgado.
to amplify human ingenuity. We are very privileged to have this
Analisa grande, mas você inspira
to
pouco,
work
tá?
with all of you. We invite you to get on the AI journey together with us. Thank you and enjoy the conference and the Seattle sunshine.
Tá, acabou você, mas vai ter mais coisa, né? Espero. Quanto tempo de live já foi aqui? Foram 2 horas e 10 de live. São 2 ou 3 horas de live, não lembro. Acho que são 3, né? Felipe Tom Ward já disse que desde as 11 que mandou só amanhã. Pelo jeito vai ser isso aí mesmo, viu? Infelizmente. Então 2h50 aqui no canal. Eu comecei meia hora antes, então tem 2h20. O evento vai a duração de 3 horas? Deveria ser ou é 2 horas, será? Pelo que falaram, ia ser 3 horas de duração. Mas tá com cara de ser o final isso daí, hein? Tá fazendo um resuminho de tudo que mostraram até agora. Acabou! Galera. Vamos ver a agenda aqui. É pra amanhã. Cadê? Cadê aqui? Dia 2. Eles não falam que eles vão apresentar. Pra baixo só coisa de desenvolvedor mesmo. Dia 3. Tá, ó galera, ó. Seguinte. Primeiro dia. Keynote, ok? Tipo, Keynote é o evento, ok? Teve aqui, aí aqui pra baixo é tudo coisa de palestra de desenvolvimento mesmo, de coisa mais pessoal deles que não fazem. Segundo dia também tem uma apresentação do Keynote, começa meio de e-mail deles, não sei que horas vai dar aqui, mas eles não tão falando que vai rolar, então provavelmente vai ter alguma coisa mesmo, porque no dia 3 pode ver que nem tem Keynote aqui, então não vai ter apresentação. Então Keynote é hoje e amanhã. Então parece que tá certo, amanhã que vai ser o negócio que o bicho vai pegar. Espero, né? Vamos torcer. Vamos deixar essa musiquinha rodando aí, já se for pegar direito autoral vai pegar de qualquer jeito. Deixa eu mudar aqui a live pra cá pra gente trocar um pouco as ideias. Vai ter live amanhã? Cara, então eu pretendo fazer live. Vai ser chegar aqui nesse horário meio de meio pra cá. Não sei que hora isso vai ser. Meio que da tarde mesmo. Acho que já estão convertendo o horário. Começa às 8h30. Então amanhã meio de meio sim teremos live aqui no canal. Vem aqui pro canal que vai ter live. Não sei, se a gente ver que vai ficar muito assim, cara, talvez eu nem continue, tá? Porque... Deixa eu baixar o volume aqui. Porque se for ficar muito mimimi assim, nem vale a pena, cara. Eu fiz a live hoje porque normalmente o primeiro dia de build é o dia que eles focam realmente nas coisas interessantes, em Windows Phone, Xbox, normalmente fazem isso. Ouvi comentando aí, pessoal. Ei Alexandre, beleza? Windows só amanhã mesmo, né? Então sim, galera, vai ter live amanhã, tá bom? Normalmente, esse ano eles inverteram, não sei porquê. Depois eu vou ver se sai alguma notícia aí. Como eu tive que sair hoje de manhã pra ver umas coisas, eu não acompanhei muitas notícias que vazaram por aí. Falaram que o Tom Ward ele tinha avisado já que o Windows só amanhã. Mas a tiver amanhã. Mas amanhã vai chegar aqui meio-dia e meio, vai ter live sim, tá? Só não garanto que vai durar aí essas 3 horas de novo. Beleza? Dá uma frustração na galera. Galera, tá? Dá uma frustração mesmo. Alexandre, acompanha a live, que você curtiu, não curtiu? E aí, eu tô sem o que fazer agora, cara. Minha intenção era a gente começar a discutir o que rolou na live essas horas, mas não tem muito o que discutir. Os pontos fortes da live foi a parte lá da moça tremendo a mão, esqueci o nome do Parkinson, acho, né? Claro, aquele momento foi forte, mano. Ó, quase chorei. E teve aquele reconhecimento lá do horário local de trabalho, que eu achei bem legal também, da câmera reconhecendo pessoas, falando quando tem perigo, achei bem bacana. Teve cloud, muito cloud, Microsoft Azure pra caramba. Inteligência artificial fala um pouquinho. Teve mostraram no palco a Cortana Skills, o nome, não lembro qual que é. Aquele Google no home da Cortana, que é bem legal. Mostrou a Cortana funcionando em carros, isso é bem legal, espero que chegue no mercado ainda. Não curti não, mas entendi bem a ideia deles. Vamos ver amanhã, cara. Se amanhã não rolar nada, vai ser difícil defender a Microsoft. Devia ter assistido o filme do Pelé. Se durar, porque a live vai ser boa, vai ter coisa boa. Mano, vamos ver. Falaram que falar de nuvem, nem falaram muito sobre o universo, sobre aplicativos universais. Vamos ver se amanhã eles falam mais. Deve falar mais pra quem tá lá. Eles focaram em apresentar novidades voltadas para a multiplataforma. Amanhã deverá ter mais foco na plataforma universal. Tomara, Alexandre. Alexandre, vazou alguma informação mesmo que confirmaram que o Tom Hardy confirmou que o Windows vai ser amanhã mesmo? Porque eu vi o pessoal falando na live, como eu tava na live não deu pra me acompanhar muita notícia, então não vi não. O app da Azure virá um formato universal a seguir. Esse eu vi, eu dei uma olhada aqui rapidão no centro, no leitor RSS, e vi o título na matéria, que eu não cheguei a ler, mas eu vi que vai ter sim. Teve o cara de vermelho por muito tempo, desnecessário. Fora PT. Mas é isso aí, galera. Bom, valeu pra fazer um teste aqui da live também. Deu pra brincar um pouquinho mais com a live, nunca tinha feito uma live decente assim. Tivemos problemas aí de conexão, mas isso aí acontece, né? O cara da IEMS falou que Terry Manson tem mais coisas pra compartilhar amanhã. Ok. Se Terry Manson vai em palco, então é coisa boa. Teve mulheres bonitas, várias mulheres bonitas. Foi o que salvou o evento praticamente. Rafa, valeu pela live, vamos almoçar agora. Bom trampo, até a próxima. Valeu, Blazer. Até mais aí. Obrigado pelo apoio todo. Valeu por acompanhar a live. Daqui a pouquinho tô encerrando também já. Volta PT. Fora PT, mano. Não, oxe. Vou mostrar essa live pra um amigo meu também. Vou ver que ele é petista extremo. Mas aí curti. Alexandre, mas que nem eu mostrei aqui, ó. Não sei se você tava vendo, deixa eu pôr em tela cheia aqui pra você ver. Teve a Keynote aqui, tal, que rolou. Dia 2 também tem uma Keynote e dia 3 não. Então, tipo, só vai ter evento hoje e amanhã. Na sexta-feira, aparentemente, não vai ter transmissão nem nada. Vai ser focado mais no público de mais palestras locais mesmo. Amanhã de meio-dia e meio até as 2, teremos 1h30. Espero que seja 1h30 bem aproveitada. Gostei da live, espero que continue acontecendo. Valeu, Jaime. Obrigado aí. Vai fazer live do Lula agora? Live não, vou dormir daqui a pouquinho. Quer dizer, dormir agora, já era pra eu estar dormindo faz muito tempo. São 3 horas da tarde. É pra estar no 10º sono já. Amanhã deve ser 3 horas. Não, cara, vai ser do 12h30 às 2. Volta aqui, deixa eu dar um. Zoom aqui, ó. 12h30 às 2. Não sei se ele deu zoom aí na coisa. Mas aqui, ó. 12h30 às 2. Quem dorme à tarde é comunista. Cara, eu trabalho de madrugada, então eu tenho que dormir de tarde. Normalmente eu vou dormir entre meio-dia e 1h. Pra acordar entre 9 e 10 horas, 9, 9h30. Me arrumar e trabalhar. Bom, gente, então é isso. Espero que vocês tenham gostado da live. Quem deu like aí, obrigado aí pelo apoio. Quem deu dislike, desculpe. Deixa o feedback aqui que você acha que podia melhorar, tá? Um bom exemplo aqui, what's new the Microsoft Design Language. Cadê? Aqui, ó. What's new? Pois é, mas entre 5 e 6 horas da tarde isso aí vai ser... Ah, olha só, ó, galera, ó. Deixa eu virar aqui. Bem reparado, Alexandre. Ó, o que é de novo na linguagem de design da Microsoft. Será anunciado após a keynote do dia 11 de maio, que é amanhã. Então sim, teremos coisas boas amanhã. Acho que amanhã vai ter o neon. Vamos dar uma olhadinha, ver se a gente acha mais coisa aqui. Pode me chamar é o desenvolvimento de Android, iOS e Windows. Bacana. Bem reparado, Alexandre. Valeu por comentar isso aí. Vamos ver o dia 3 a gente acha alguma coisa. Linguagens com Matt, Dustin, Philip e Hamilton, deve ser programadores da Microsoft. Futuro Visual Studio, eu vou espirrar. Não espirrei. Futuro de C#, Microsoft Graph, Channel 9, Supercharge, Visual Studio, TypeScript. Mano, tem jogo real daqui a pouco, pois é, cara. Tchau, Fel. Tchau, programa da casa. Valeu pelo apoio, hein? Tudo. O MW, o MP, quer dizer. Usar o Studio Mobile Center dia 3. Cadê? Aqui é o Studio Mobile Center. Vamos ver. Vamos esperar o que vai acontecer. Valeu, galera. Bom, galera, vou encerrar aqui no Windows Design, o futuro visual do ano. Pois é. Bom, pessoal, então é isso. Vou encerrar aqui porque eu não tenho muito mais o que fazer, tá? Alguém quer trocar uma ideia? Vou dar uns 2 minutinhos, ver se alguém tem perguntas, alguma coisa. Opiniões a dar, alguma coisa assim. Se não surgir nada bom, aí eu vou acabar encerrando a live. Enquanto isso, vamos dar uma olhadinha aqui no... ver se sai alguma matéria aqui. Olha lá, galera, ó. Vamos dar uma olhada aqui. Visual Studio para Mac. Ok, quem quiser ler com calma, ó, tem o link na descrição aqui do Windows Team. Só que tá direto para uma matéria, só se voltar para a homepage lá e dar uma olhada. O Razer vai ganhar aplicativos para smartphone, Android, iOS e Windows. Vamos ver isso só demonstra o poder de cortar dispositivos conectados, inclusive carros. Isso que eu achei bem legal na apresentação. Vamos ver aqui. Do Supervisor Cloud Shell durante o build 2017. Esse novo serviço complementará o IDE e o Portal Azure. A ideia é fornecer uma experiência autenticada baseada em seu browser, hospedada no Azure, que seja acessível em qualquer lugar. O que tá tocando lá? Ah, tá, ok. Nesse caso, acessível em qualquer lugar, mas você vai lançar o aplicativo Azure para smartphones Android e OS também em formato universal para Windows 10. No aplicativo Mobile Azure, você poderá gerenciar sua nuvem Azure em qualquer lugar, mesmo com aplicativos móveis Azure Shield, alarme, tocando um alarme aqui. Nossa, chega de alarme. Foi, chega. Ela com mais calma tem ainda a decisão. Aqui é o Google Home com a Cortana.
Hello, this is Seth Juarez from Channel 9 coming to you live from the conference center here in Seattle. And we just finished the keynote build.
Olha o cara de vermelho aí.
We have tons of different stuff that we're going to talk about, but this is all about you. We have some...
Aí. Deixa eu ver os comentários de vocês aqui. Falou Chess, falou Rafa, falou Alexandre, falou Everton. O Chess Live na parte 10 tava uma merda. Desculpa o palavrão. Ok, cara, eu também achei bem, né? Se o Chap tá aprendendo, acho que deveria ter mais coisa no evento para ficar interessante. O que você acha? Falo, sim, também acho, mas vamos esperar amanhã, cara. Se amanhã não for, não tem como defender a Microsoft, tá? Estão falando aí que amanhã vai ter mais coisa. De acordo com o Alexandre, eu perdi essa parte, mas parece que o japonês lá do Katana, ele falou que amanhã o Tarmens vai ao palco. O Tarmens é um dos principais apresentadores da plataforma Windows. Então se ele vai entrar no palco, vai ter coisa sobre o Windows, sim, sobre PCs, mobile. Então vamos esperar um pouquinho. Ok, mas vamos esperar amanhã. Amanhã a gente faz mais uma live e vê o que acontece. Com medo desse alarme igual o meu. Pois é que eu uso o Realarm, um aplicativo que eu até vou trazer um dia pro canal. Mas normalmente eu coloco alarmes com espécie de senha pra você levar, senão eu dou o soneca lá, fico dando soneca até chegar atrasado. Acabei de ver outra coisa importante, 2h30 até 3h30, modelo de app, evolução do modelo de app. Cara, só que isso aí já não vai ter live stream, tipo, se sair notícia vai ser só em texto mais pra frente. Mas fica de olho lá, Alexandre, posta no site lá que é nóis depois. Rafa, o que você acha nos 10 Full ARM, sendo que o Windows 10 é mobile, é uma tela do Windows 10. Cara, eu tava falando até com o Alexandre esses tempos atrás. A gente não tem que ver qual que é o potencial, de acordo com o Alexandre falou uma coisa do tipo, você me corrige depois, Alexandre, se eu estiver falando coisa errada, mas quando ele falou uma coisa do tipo que a gente não tem que ver exatamente qual que é o potencial do Windows 10 ARM, e sim o limite dele, porque tipo, se ele não tiver limite, por exemplo, se ele rodar todos os aplicativos mesmo na plataforma ARM, que seria um solar, não adianta você ter tipo o Windows 10 ARM para mobile e o Windows 10 normal com que a gente tem hoje em dia para PC. Como seria mais ter um Windows 10 ARM em tudo, já que ele rodaria tudo, tipo, e seria muito mais prático, muito mais econômico em desempenho, coisas do tipo. A gente tem que ver quais são as limitações do Windows 10 ARM para ver o que compensa mais ou não, entendeu? Palavras do Alexandre quando a gente estava conversando sobre esses dias. Se eu estiver errado, você corrige aí, tá, Alexandre? Que você falou, faz um dia você falou, posso ter esquecido uma coisa. Tchau, Ingesta. Pera aí, deixa eu... A língua tá seca já. Tchau, Ingesta. Te vejo amanhã. se fores fazer live. Cara, eu vou fazer live sim, só não garanto que vai ser uma live tão longa, mas espero que seja assim. O chat faz gameplay de Mega Man X4. Galera, vocês gostaram de ver gameplay por aqui? Porque não é o foco do canal, sabe? Pelo menos em live, talvez, mas agora não dá, cara. Tem que pegar um dia que eu tô mais livre, que agora eu realmente preciso dormir. O Windows 10 ARM pode ser comparado ao Windows 10S, sim. Roda todo tipo de app disponível na loja. Pois é, cara. Pessoalmente, cara, eu gosto... Vou mostrar pra vocês. Cadê? Estão rodando aqui? Praticamente tudo que eu rolo hoje em dia é tudo da loja. Engasguei. O que eu não rodo, que não é da loja, são as coisas que eu uso pro canal. Photoshop, Premiere, Audition, Camtasia pra... Nossa, tô engasgando muito, calma. Respira. O pacote da Adobe, o Camtasia para fazer captura de tela, o OBS, que é o aplicativo que eu uso para fazer live, o WhatsApp, infelizmente por enquanto não é universal, vamos esperar aí, deve ficar universal um dia. O aplicativo do Itaú, porque o da loja ele é bem bosta, porque o de desktop é melhor. E só o resto, cara, eu uso tudo da loja. O OneNote, os da loja, o calendário, o bloco de notas, os Notepad, que é bem legal, só que ele é pago, mas um dia eu posto no canal. Facebook é muito raro entrar pelo navegador, o Messenger também, Instagram eu uso bastante aqui no PC até, fotos eu uso tudo da loja. Hoje em dia eu vejo muita vantagem dos aplicativos da loja. Na época nos 8 eu já usava bastante, mas sempre tinha aquela coisa ou outra que você não encontrava lá. Hoje em dia, quase tudo eu uso só da loja, cara, então... Ô Daniel, também acredito que o Win32 vai ser deixado de logo um futuro muito próximo, viu? Quer dizer, não muito próximo, sei lá, não vai ser esse ano nem ano que vem, mas com o tempo vai ser bem difícil, vai sumir pacas, aplicativos assim, cara. E eu torço para que aconteça. Eu só não quero que a Microsoft domine o mercado de jogos no PC, cara. Porque os jogos na loja ainda são caros. A Steam é muito melhor para jogar. Senão a pirataria vai voltar com força no PC. Sabia que o Windows XP ainda é tão usado que tem... É tão usado, tem Office no Outlook. O Windows XP é bastante usado ainda, cara. Infelizmente. Tá na hora. Então, YouTube eu uso pelo navegador, né? Eu não uso nenhum aplicativo de YouTube. Porque eu não sou a favor de aplicativos terceiros para YouTube. Porque todos eles cortam as propagandas. E propaganda, bem ou mal, é o que acaba ajudando a gente que trabalha com isso. Então, sou totalmente contra. Não gasto, não uso não. O Chess, eu não vejo vantagem em apps universais. Cara, a vantagem que eu vejo é muito mais fácil você instalar. Você vai na loja lá, vai na biblioteca, começa a instalar tudo. Você desinstalar aqui, ó, botão direito, desinstalar, pronto. Ele não fica deixando registro no seu computador nem nada mais. A experiência é muito unificada, muito... Eu acho linda, uma coisa que eu mais gosto do sistema todo. Você pega seu celular, você tem a mesma experiência que tem no PC, você faz a mesma coisa e tudo mais. Gosto bastante, bastante mesmo. Ô JB, chegou agora, mano? Tá acabando a live. Galera, deixa eu perguntar pra vocês, eu gostaria de ter um vídeo mostrando os aplicativos que já suportam a Project Neon. Eu gravei essa semana, só que ficou quase 20 minutos. Editando vai ficar um pouco menos, mas acho que eu falei... Acho que eu enrolei demais, tá? Por onde eu vou acabar regravando, só que eu tô com uma preguiça. Nem sei se seria algo interessante pra vocês. Se quiser eu faço, se quiser eu não faço não. Vamos ver se é algum aplicativo... Uma atualização boa na loja. São mais rápidos ou menos problemas. Mais rápido é meio... qual seria a palavra? Algumas coisas são mais rápidas, outras não. Não sei, não esqueci a palavra certa pra definir isso. Mas tem coisas que é melhor, roda bem melhor na plataforma universal. Tem coisas que realmente não. Mas a princípio sim. nem o aplicativo novo atualizado. Bom, galera, então é isso aí. Vou encerrar. Novato aqui, acabei de me inscrever. Valeu, JB. Isso aqui chegou bem no finalzinho, cara. Amanhã, volta aí amanhã, 12h30. Eu vou começar a live 12h amanhã, tá? E aí a gente começa aí amanhã. Vamos torcer para que fique bem melhor as coisas. Mostra uma YouTube Beta. Cara, o que eu falei, Arthur, há pouco tempo, eu sou contra aplicativos terceirizados de YouTube. YouTube pra mim é só um navegador sem adblock, não uso. Quem usa adblock aí, eu recomendo que desinstale, porque isso prejudica pra caramba a gente aqui do YouTube, tá bom? Mas não posso obrigar vocês a nada. Mas eu só vejo pelo navegador, ok? Bom, pessoal, então é isso. Vou ficando por aqui. Deixa eu voltar aqui pra cá, só pra despedir direitinho. Galera, vamos esperar aí amanhã, vamos torcer para que amanhã esteja coisa mais interessante, beleza? Bom, pessoal, muito obrigado para todo mundo que apoiou o canal, que deu like, comentou, foi bem legal. Foi mais legal conversar com vocês do que acompanhar a live em si. Dei bastante risada aqui com o comentário de vocês. E espero, voltem amanhã, tá? Quem puder. A live vai ficar gravada, não sei se ela permitiu gravar toda a live o tempo todo. Mas ela vai ficar gravada aí pra vocês, daqui a pouquinho já libera ela. Eu acho que ela vai ficar pública já direto, se não ficar eu libero mais tarde, tá bom? Que eu vou direto pra cama, porque tô morrendo de sono. E é isso aí, galera. Forte abraço a todos, valeu todo mundo aí. A gente se vê na próxima, qualquer coisa deixe nos comentários, os links de todas as redes sociais estão aqui embaixo, segue ela lá, principalmente o Instagram, que daí fica de olho nos stories do Instagram, que eu sempre tiver algum aviso lá, eu aviso vocês por lá, beleza? E eu vou ficando por aqui, galera. Um forte abraço a todos. E não se esqueçam, canal Chester, ajudar pessoas e ensinar coisas é um negócio da família. Tchau, tchau, pessoal. Até a próxima e fui!